It's wanting a
We're
password.
good.
We ripping? Now, is YouTube working or is
We're
there?
about to get started, so yes.
Okay.
Mine isn't. It's wanting
It
passwords.
takes a second, so we're going.
Okay, we're on. We're ripping. Hey, look out. It's only me. It's only the Kimmer. The Kimmer Show podcast, number 534. This is Thursday, the second day of March already in 2023 as we speak. How you doing? Welcome aboard. And it's freaking March. We almost made it. I mean, we still can get an ice storm or two, but I mean, we basically, it's March. So I'm ready for the spring weather. Anyway, it's only me. It's only the Kimmer with Pete Davis, sidekick, producer, and sports raconteur extraordinaire. I assume another Holy Crap at Sports tomorrow.
Yes, sir. The first one worked yesterday from the mountain home.
You did one yesterday. Yeah. Now, and I assume, did you talk about the UGA guys and the killing accident thing?
What's happened?
Yes. Well, nothing really.
Yes.
Anyway, and I'm going to talk a lot about that today just because we didn't have it on our podcast last time. But and I have a couple of very serious questions about possibly the number one draft pick. Would you still pick him number one after the way he behaved?
No.
Hey, I mean, there's some serious
lessons. And why is
lessons
it a misdemeanor to lie to a
You've
cop
got to be
twice?
kidding me. Well, fleeing the scene of an accident,
Fleeing
by the
the
way. I mean,
scene.
well, hold on. Don't stop. Don't get ahead of me. Anyway, and Flounder, the mechanical mangler at the controls here at El Condo Floundo. And I already posted a little video of Podcat Lucas, who's in rare form and ready to go. Anyway, how you doing? We got a billion things to talk about. And we have some serious stuff. We'll obviously talk about this is Dr. Seuss Day, by the way. I'll mention that a couple of times, too. And obviously some personal things going along. Pete's new house. Saw some pictures. Holy smokes. We'll definitely talk a lot about the UGA kill case. We'll also talk, how this president showers with daughter has not been mocked out of office is beyond me. His latest two snafus, the nurse and laughing at fentanyl children dying. I know. Oh my God! You'll hear the soundbite of Ted Cruz excoriating that pimpy little smarmy little dwarf. Brain-addled attorney general. By the way, remember, of course, the reason he was behind all the shenanigans against conservative by arrest with SWAT team weapons and not for the liberals is because he was kicked. He was not allowed to be on the U.S. Supreme Court. Remember that? Because of conservatives. So he's getting back now. I mean, this is just, he won't be around for long, by the way. Also, Brett... Okay, we talked to the attorney general. We'll also talk about the interview with Brett Baer and the sleaziest, slimiest, oily snake who's the head of the FBI, Chrissy Ray, the coward of the FBI. And by the way, I know they've got my phone tapped, and I found 2 new trace cars, but I'll get to that here in a second. Anyway, we'll talk about that. And Brett Baer, I'm so disappointed in him. No follow-ups. Well, we got a million things. Also, a friend of mine at the FBI sent me a resume of one of their new potential recruits because he was bragging about how many. Now, everybody wants to be in the FBI. Did you hear that? Chrissy Ray said, FBI is so wonderful. We've had more people want to join now than ever before in our history. They love the FBI. We're so fantastic.
Probably true.
Yeah. But I have a resume. Maybe explains why the people are trying to become FBI reservation. Also, a bunch of newsy thoughts about crime doesn't pay. Stakey big fat loser Abraham goes to oversee the elections in Nigeria. So we'll have the reaction to that. A whole bunch of goofy weirdo stories here. Pete's sports coming up. The Holy Crap at Sports. I mean, we'll be talking about sports. Also, Pete's advice on taking a bad acid trip or staying away or not. Bigfoot could be spotted somewhere locally. Also, I want to ask you about Christian comments concerning Dion Sanders. They're getting him for 2 things all of a sudden. And I guess you knew this was going to happen. As soon as Neon Dion started getting all the publicity about his coaching experience and abilities and so forth. He's being attacked, 1, about, I'd rather have a kid from a 2-parent family, and 2, because he's a strong Christian, and they're now condemning him for passing along Christian beliefs to his football players. Anyway, we'll get to that, see what you think about that stuff, too. We've got a billion newsy stories here, and a weird Dear Abby kind of stuff. And first, let's start off with a quick thank you. A reminder, if you'd like to help us out, go to thekimmershow.net. And there's a link there to the Venmo thing with your cell phone to take the picture and so forth. They'll just have the photo up there. Also, PayPal or patreon.com/Kimmer Show. We also have a post office box. where we're accepting checks very gladly and with great appreciation. In fact, we got a very nice letter here to Venmo here today from our friend Denise, who is pretty much trying to single-handedly support the Kimmer Show podcast. God bless you, dear girl. And Annie sent us a very nice donation for the laughs, which I appreciate. And by the way, speaking of Denise, she sent us something which is easily divisible by 3, and she mentions Happy Dr. Seuss Day and World Book Day, and says in passing, God bless. You know, by the way, this is Dr. Seuss Day, and did you realize that on Dr. Seuss Day, he actually, there were several books that were canceled of Dr. Seuss. Remember this a few years ago? Mulberry Street was canceled. If I Ran the Zoo, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Super, The Cat's Quizzer. These Dr. Seuss books were canceled because they thought he was a little too mean for different people.
Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, President Showers with daughter just saluted on Dr. Seuss Day, saluted Dr. Seuss, even though he tried to get him banned a few years ago. I mean, what a freaking phony. Anyway, some Dr. Seuss titles which have not been banned, which are sometimes a little bit amazing, but the Dr. Seuss titles which still are there today. Herbert the Pervert Like Sherbert. One of my The Bitch Set Me Up. Now that was one of the sorry. Yeah. Hop on Mom. Again, that's one of the lesser. The flesh-eating Lorax. Again, your colon can moo. Can you? Again, these are Zippy the Rabbit Gerbil. I think is this. The Grinch's 10 Inches. Again, some of these. Are not for some of the younger boys and girls. My pocket rocket needs a socket. I'm not sure what some of these mean. One bitch, two bitch, dead bitch, you bitch. Now that can't be right. We've got to.
That's a bitch too far.
Who shat in the hat? And the number 1 bestseller, The Cat in the Blender. Again, these are just so wrong. But again, they're out there, and it's not my fault. My God. Excuse me. A couple of quick newsy things. The closing arguments are done in the Murdoch trial from, was it South Carolina?
Yeah.
And so here we go. The jury's got it. One girl juror got kicked off. Apparently somebody finked on her and said she talked about the case with some people who were not on the jury, just kind of talking about the evidence. And you're not supposed to say anything. You're not supposed to talk even among yourselves before you get into the jury room for deliberation. So they kicked her off and put an alternate on for the deliberations. So, and I assume the alternate heard they keep them in the courtroom to hear all the testimony for cases just like this. Anyway, and there was sort of a humorous moment. And by the way, I watched some of the trial yesterday and a couple days ago. There have been a lot of occasions where they've cracked a bunch of jokes where the judge has been laughing about some of the lawyers. I mean, it's just...
What's a funny trial?
It's a funny trial.
Life is funny.
Wife, kid, double murder. There are some light moments. Let's look at the bright side of happiness. Come on, it could happen. Anyway, and it was joke today. The girl got kicked off, so she said, Your Honor, can I go back to the jury room because I've got my purse and a dozen eggs. And he said, you've got a dozen. He said, I've heard of a lot of things in a jury room. And some laughing about that. As the jury goes in to try to convict the guy.
Get a dozen eggs?
I don't know. But again, it's just a light, happy, laughing moment right before the jury goes into... anyway, life is very strange. I got a couple thanks and notes. One other quick thing came up in the news, and it actually caught some publicity on the national media. And the social media in particular. Did you hear the case about the guy who was on an airline flight and he and his wife were separated? He was in one row and she was in the same row but across the aisle. And he asked the guy next to her if he would give up his seat so he and his wife could sit together. And the guy said no. And the angry guy said he wanted to slap him and hit him. He really ticked off in the plane. Now, here's the thing. As it turns out, I thought, well, if you're if you're in on the window and you want to trade, so you have to go back in the middle seat somewhere. Hell, I mean, why would you even ask somebody to do that? But this wasn't the case. Anyway, the uproar by social media was astounding. But the case was they were all flying in business class, so there are no middle seats. So the only problem would have been the guy was in the window seat. And he would have had to give it up to go across the aisle to be in an aisle seat, which is, anyway. But he still said no, and now there's a big uproar. Now, would you give up a seat for a family or for like a family or a husband and wife to be able to sit together?
It depends whether, like you said, I'm not going to sit in the middle seat between two fat people. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, or a baby or something where they want. And the other thing is, what if they wanted to bring their kid up to sit next to him? Anyway, Flounder, have you ever given up your seat at an airline flight?
No, I've never had to. But the thing is at this point, it's almost worth paying for business class.
Yeah.
That way, I mean, if you're going to take at least a 3 or 4 hour plus flight, it's almost worth it.
I tell you that, well, one thing, because
now I know you'll pay $800 2 days before.
I fly once a year, and if I fly once a year, I'm flying first class, business class. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to put.
Well,
up
I mean,
with
you avoid situations just like this.
Well, frankly, it's selfish, and I know, that's an extra $400 my kids aren't going to get when I die. Sorry, So thank God my starter wife and her husband have a lot of money, I think, so they'll be able to take care of my kids for me. Anyway. I hope to God.
So she traded up.
She traded way up. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I ended up getting
trading up by First Wives, brought to you by Atlanta Custom Closets, closetpro.net.
Oh, go so tight.
Yeah. He's allergic to closets.
404-255-0589.
404-255-0589. One thing I've noticed with the new joint, it has lots of closets, but I could use even more.
Wow.
So call Atlanta Custom Closets at closetpro.net.
By the way, it's not only just building you like a building. They arrange it and organize your space so that it works perfectly for you for whatever you happen to have. I mean, that's the key to it. And by the way, we got a very nice note here from Rick, who says he sent a letter to our post office box, which is, again, on thekimmershow.net. You can get that thing. And he says he's doing a thing with a thing and building a thing in Delana with his wife. And he says a guy met from Mount Airy. And he said he's about mid-late 60s, I'd say, and his name is Kim also. A guy's name is Kim. Then he says he has stories similar to yours about growing up with a boy's name like Kim. Good guy like you. Well, thank you. And he says, thanks for the laughs. I like your rambling stories. Pete sometimes has a point, but let's err on the side of stories. It's not bad to accept something positive once in a while. Anyway, hello to all.
I think the bingo chat.
That could
expose a lot.
It did expose a lot. By the way, and I'm not sure about this. He had P.S. It's cilantro. Sounds cilantro. I'm bilingual. Did we talk about the word cilantro of any kind? I don't know what that refers to. Yeah, Flounder, does that ring a bell of anything? This is. He said. By the way, P.S. It's cilantro. Sounds like cilantro. Oh no! Wait a minute. Maybe the emphasis on the O is cilantro. Well, did someone mispronounce cilantro?
Cilantro.
Maybe. Anyway, Rick, thank you. He is bilingual, so if you're bi, you're okay with me, buddy. So that's the thing. Anyway, well, no, that's what he said. He said I wrote it right there. I didn't even say it. Okay. Let's see. Bimbity boom. Oh, I want to. Now we have newsy things to do, but I want to. As you know, I'm very critical about the demise of the Atlanta market's newspaper
Earthquake
situation. Oh, we have an earthquake?
Yeah, he was moving the camera around. Looked like we're
Oh my God, man. As you know, I've been very critical of the Al Jazeera Constitution. It's a horrible newspaper. We've lost the morning paper, the afternoon paper journal. However, this morning, or was it yesterday? Yesterday morning, I go down to get my papers, like 5:45 or something like that, and there's paper in the driveway, and I pick it up, take it inside, and it's in a light pink plastic wrapper. Mm-hmm. It's the Wall Street Journal. I don't get the Wall Street Journal.
You do now.
Oh, yeah. So I called him. There's a number that you call, 404-522-4141. How's that for how often I have to call them on top of my head? Anyway, so I called that number, and it says your address, your the thing. Did you go to thing? 8 or 9 prompts. Then it says, oh, you've called too early. You have to call. Paper's not guaranteed until 6:30. So 6:31, I call back, and I go through the whole series of prompts again, and I leave the message that I didn't get my paper and I want my paper. About 8 minutes later, my phone rings. Now, as you know, I never answer my phone unless I see who it is, if I know the number. I never answer my phone, especially at night or in the morning, unless I see who it is. And but I said, you know what? What the hell? I answered it anyway. I couldn't believe I did. I answered it, and it was a lady from the paper. And she said, did you just call, we got your call about you not getting a paper. And she said, I called the delivery man, and he says he delivered it to you. And I said, yeah. And she was not really snippy, but she was kind of, he says he's delivered it to you. You know, not really nasty, but sort of, we're trying to catch you getting 2 papers, maybe kind of a suspicious kind of. Anyway, I said, yeah, the Wall Street Journal. And she says, oh, he threw the wrong one. Oh. Anyway, so she was very nice, and I said, well, now you can, but you're going to, he said, oh yeah, we'll take care of you. And then a couple hours later, I got my paper, but still, anyway, but she called the guy when she got my message saying, well, I'm going to check this out, which I thought was above and beyond the call of duty. She didn't have to do that right then, but she did. He called her back. They talked to each other. And anyway, so thank you, Al Jazeera Constitution. I appreciate it.
Why didn't you just keep the Wall Street Journal? It's probably a
Oh, I
better
did.
paper.
I mean, I can't. But I said, I'll leave the paper out there for you. She said, no, you can have it. And I tried to read it. It's unreadable. I mean, it's all. I mean, unless you have some kind of scoop on something.
They did their job yesterday.
Well, yeah, yes, they did. But again, it was like the day before, whatever it was, and it was just I have no interest in.
That's right, Tuesday.
The business forecastings of something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, let's see. Oh, just one quick thing about. And I probably shouldn't say anything. As you know, when I had my.
Lobotomy?
Well, no. I had a whole chunk of my I had like a bridge taken out a couple of months ago on my upper left side, and the dentist said at the time, well, you can either get the denture implants. I said, no, I did that before, and that was a nightmare for 8 months. I don't want. He said, well, there's removable bridges you can get, and I said, okay, fine. He said, you got to wait a couple months. Okay, so I called the dentist. I said, what are my options now on that removable bridge you were talking about? And remember the call? We got the call. I was on the air in the podcast, and the dentist called, and I talked to him. And he said, okay, I'll get back to you. Well, the girl called later that day and said, oh, unfortunately, we don't do that kind of stuff here. I said, well, wait a minute. You took it out, but we don't do that procedure because it would require a bone graft and a crown or whatever. And I said, well, I said, then why? And she said, well, we can recommend you to somebody else. We have a dentist who's pretty good at that kind of thing. I said, pretty good? She said, well, I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, so she said, we'll forward it to you. Haven't heard a word. And I wonder if they're saying now they probably contacted him and said, well, we can't do that kind of stuff either. So now what? I got to start all over. I mean, it's anyway, that's all I'm saying. But this happens to me for some reason with my body. What the hell's going on? I don't feel like I'm falling apart, but I can't. I mean, it's just, I hate this. I really do. I hate this. I don't feel like I should be having this. I feel, 30, 40, whatever, healthy, strong. Yeah, well, I'm not strong anymore, but I hate this. I hate this, and I'm sure every old person. I'm almost 7. I'll be 77 shortly. So I'm almost 80. That means I'm lucky to be alive.
Don't call me shortly.
Don't call me shortly. Anyway, just for the record. And I won't talk about. I'm just pissed off because now I got to. Now what do I got to do?
Well, next thing you'll be choking up on your golf club.
At least that hasn't happened yet. Well, the only happy thing that's happened to me, the only good thing that happens in my life is going to play with the horses. I mean, when I go to the stable 4 days a week, usually something like that, I go play with.
Okay, fine.
And that's,
you hear that, Flounder?
No.
Yeah.
Well, the happiness of being with you guys, of course, supersedes everything. That's the given. But I wish we were working full time on the radio, but still, this is great. I love coming to work, and I love playing with the horses. Other than that, I did hit balls yesterday, and I came to an incredible bit of knowledge about my golf swing, given my current physical state and everything. And it's an enormous breakthrough, and I'm very excited. And so that's probably the end of that story. All right, now hold everything. I did get one more kind of an update thing from my buddy. Mike Summers, I used to work with, and I've known.
Okay.
What?
Just because the Atlanta Custom Closet guy said you could do your stories again doesn't mean you have to hit every one of your bingo stories in the first 10 minutes of the show.
No, this is something that refers to something we mentioned before. Jimmy Carter still alive as we speak. in hospice care. He's near death, as I think we pretty much
don't know
figured. Well, I mean, we know what the situation is. I mean, it's clear that he doesn't have long to live, and we're all sad, and we love him and everything else in many, many ways. And I mentioned to you a couple of instances of my dealings with Jimmy Carter personally, which I really treasure as moments of, how many people get to do what I did for very personal presidential things. I mean, really, secrets and stuff. I mean, really, how many, my God. He told me a secret.
Would you write the damn book?
I know. Anyway, so here I got this email from my buddy Mike Summers, and he said in 1974, he was in New Orleans. I was anchoring in the morning and then working as a reporter after my air shift, assigned to cover a Jimmy Carter for President breakfast fundraiser and interview him in Slidell, which is a little town across the Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans. He writes, not one person in the newsroom, this is 1974, not one person in the newsroom had ever heard of Jimmy Carter. He had been out of office from his position as Georgia governor. The breakfast buffet, fit for a king. Eggs, sausage, bacon, potatoes, grits, everything else was $5. I knew they could not be making money. It was to get him exposed to the media since we were all asking, Jimmy who? Yep. He goes on to say, I did my interview and noticed that he had already been very well coached on the optimum length of a soundbite and had rehearsed the answer to every question he could be asked. I pause here. Remember, I talked about Herb Klein, that Jimmy Carter hired Herb Klein, the speech communications expert, to train him how to deal with national media so he wouldn't be a Southern bumpkin. And Mike Summers says he had rehearsed the answer to every question he could be asked. His engineering background came through in every response, very analytical and detailed. So there were maybe a dozen folks off the street having breakfast, a print guy from the Times-Picayune paper, me and my tape recorder, and Jody Powell. That was the entire fundraiser. But I came back to the newsroom and I said, you know what? I know we've never heard of him, but I swear I think I just interviewed the next president. For Mikey. That's how impressed he was with that. And again, Jimmy Carter did all the right things in 2 years in advance and on. Anyway.
That was a mistake.
Well, he was a terrible president, but again, I have nothing but good things to say about Jimmy Carter as a man. I mean, I really I admired him then, and
what about him saying that Trump wasn't a legitimate president?
Well, he's a freaking screaming liberal weirdo. He's afraid, he is. I mean, I'm sorry, his politics are outrageous. He's totally anti-Jew. Let's remember that. Come on, you're killing me with his policies. So I don't care about. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking as a human. I would trust him with my money. I would trust him with my family. I would trust him if I had, to do something that I trust him as a human being to keep his word. Well, anyway, but again, but he's not my politically, good riddance. Okay, now. All right, boys, we got a couple ways to go here. I've got a whole bunch of things. We got to talk about this UGA football business. I want to get your opinion, a couple things on it. First, a couple of basic facts as we, which, by the way, surprised the crap out of me the other day when they came public. Okay, Chandler LaCroix, the 24-year-old recruiting specialist, the woman who worked for the Georgia football program, was racing the defensive star Jalen Carter, who could be, or was until now, might be, allegedly my ass. I'm going to say it that we think it's true. Witnesses say so. There's evidence of everything. Anyway, they were racing one car to one Jeep to another car, and Jalen Carter, who was perhaps going to be the number one draft pick in the NFL. That may change now when we talk about this. There was also a linebacker named Dumas Johnson with a Dodge Charger who had got caught racing and reckless driving a week before this. The young lady, Chandler LaCroix, was pronounced dead at the hospital. The crash, the Cherokee was going on. LaCroix was driving the Expedition 104 miles an hour. The Expedition front tire struck a curb, car flew off the roadway, sheared utility poles. The Expedition and the Black Hawk, which is called actually the Jeep Trackhawk, as I understand it, has something like 700 horsepower.
Really?
This is a monster Jeep. In fact, let me see if I can find it here.
But you got it in an NIL deal.
He did. He got it in an NIL deal. Yep. Here we go. It was a video. It's a 2021 black Jeep Cherokee Trackhawk, 707 horsepower engine known as a Hellcat V8. Top speed of 180 miles an hour. Can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. A Jeep. $100,000
Big
Jeep.
a Jeep, it'll leave the transmission 30 yards behind it.
I had a Jeep.
All transmissions are bad in a Jeep.
Well, no, that Jeep. In fact, I gave it to Jennifer when I was down in Florida. I had a Shelby convertible, and it was starting to fall apart. So I got this Jeep. It was a Safari XL Super Special something. It was a nice Jeep, 4-door, nice, loaded, sporty Jeep. And when I came up back to work, they gave me a car deal at the radio station, so I gave it to my daughter Jennifer, and she drove it for a while and hated it. It was just leaked and the rain. Anyway, whatever. But this thing goes 180 miles an hour. And they were swerving. They were switching lanes, driving in the center turn lane, driving in opposite lanes of travel.
Opposite lane.
Over opposite lanes of travel. Then, but they would swerve over to the other
Head
side of
on.
the road. Hopefully not hitting at 2:30 in the morning. Somebody driving head on the other direction, the proper direction, drove in opposite lanes, overtook other motorists, high rates of speed, trying to outdistance each other. Willock flew out of the car driver's seat. The football player who was killed, pronounced dead at the scene. The girl was unresponsive and later was shown was dead at the hospital. They had been at the Toppers Strip Club in Athens with other members of the football team. They left around 2:30. The girl was not authorized to be in the expedition. The car was only supposed to be for official school business. Let's see. Now, here's what, among the things that bother me the most, Jalen Carter told the police he was nearly a mile away when the Georgia teammate and a football staff member were killed in the car crash. No, I wasn't there. I was about a mile away. He said, well, I was following the car when it wrecked. Okay, first he said, no, I wasn't even there. I was a mile away. Then he said, well, no, I was behind it. I was following the car. I had, it wasn't, I couldn't even see anything was going on there. And then he said, well, at third point, he said, well, no, I was alongside it. We were alongside it, going 104. He fled the scene after the crash. Jalen Carter fled the scene before the police or emergency workers got there. In other words, not only did he flee his responsibility, he didn't try to help anybody.
Right.
That's the worst thing ever. Yeah. He should have been, you know exactly what I'm thinking right now.
They say he was sober, right?
No evidence of drinking.
I understand being drunk and you make a stupid decision. If he's stone cold sober and he left them to die there.
Yeah. Bleed out, whatever. Screaming.
He left his teammate. Why would you want him on your team in the NFL if he left his college teammate to die?
Yeah. And by the way, there were people alive in the wreck.
Yeah. At least 2, right?
And so he,
or
at
3.
least temporarily, and he fled. He fled the scene, lied about where he was, lied again about where he was, lied again about whether he was alongside the car. He fled before the cops got there, came back an hour and a half later, and then gave differing accounts of what happened in the wreck and denied he had even been racing at all. Carter gave the officer an inconsistent account of what he knew about the crash. He first said he heard about the wreck from an apartment complex a mile away. Later, he said he witnessed it from a shorter distance he had been behind. He denied racing, denied he was even driving fast, told the officer occupants of the car that crashed were drunk. He saw the group downtown, and the cops said there was no sign that he had been drinking. And now this is what kills me. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, did not comment once. But Jalen Carter posted this comment on Twitter. And he's back in Athens. Now, again, the combo is on right now. Isn't it going in Indianapolis?
He had to leave Indianapolis to come back.
And again, he was going to be there to do interviews and get measured, but he wasn't going to work out. No. He was going to work out at Pro Day, which is coming up at UGA soon, or someplace soon. Anyway, so he left. He was there to be interviewed, whatever. He came home. He's now back here in Athens. But this freaking kills me. Here's what he posted on Twitter. After he fled the scene, leaving others to potentially die, that somebody was screaming. You imagine what happened in that wreck that somebody was groaning, screaming or whatever, and he flees, lies to the police several different times, denies he was even driving fast, let alone drag racing with the girl that got killed. And he posted this comment on Twitter, quote, "He will return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against me and make certain that the complete and accurate truth is presented. There is no question in my mind that when all the facts are known, that I will be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoing."
In other words, the cops are
you
lying.
shitting me?
The cops would have to be lying about this on several different occasions for this to be true.
Well, he's been caught lying 3 different times.
I know.
Or more, and he fled this. And by the way, like you, how is this only a misdemeanor?
I know.
People died.
I know.
I thought that was automatic vehicular homicide.
He contributed.
Reckless driving behavior resulting in a death. My God.
I know. You know why?
I mean, and again, he was going to. Well, he and one other defensive guy from Alabama, I think, were the two, or so I don't remember.
There's
Auburn,
2 or 3.
There's a couple.
There's a couple,
but it was going to look as though the number 1 pick in the draft this year was going to be a defensive star, a big defensive.
Mel Kiper Jr. has him number 1. I don't know how many other people do.
Well, either way, he's going to be in the top.
Oh, yeah.
Would have been in the top 2, 3, 4, 5 players, and automatic millionaire and a big star. And I mean, his future's made for. I mean, assuming he stays healthy forever. Not that anymore. Would you pick him?
No.
Would you pick him at not only number 1? Would you pick him high?
Maybe second round. I would pick him second round. Because he may go to, well, he won't go to prison over this because they'll fix it.
If it's a misdemeanor, I mean,
He's going to go to prison for this. No.
That's what I'm saying. If it's a misdemeanor, he's probably not. Even though he lied to the cop. You know, God, I'm just trying to think. What if I had done that? What if I'd been in a wreck, sober or not, drag racing 104 miles an hour, fled the scene, came back an hour and a half later, lied to the cops 3 different times, and then said, "Bo, I can prove to you that I'll be exonerated."
You'd be Rodney King'd on the spot.
Jesus. Oh, man.
Come here, young man.
And yeah, we got something to talk about.
So we'll see how. And everyone's bitching about Kirby didn't say enough. Legally, he can't say anything right now. So
he said it was horrible, and I mean, he's made a couple of comments, but he hasn't
because the university's on the line because she was not supposed to be in that vehicle. Well, they were not monitoring their vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be civil lawsuits about this for millions. Unauthorized strip clubs, drink. She was drunk. She was 2 times, more than 2 times drunk, driving 104 miles an hour in an SUV.
Which, when we were doing stupid things like that in high school, by college we had kind of gotten away with that.
I wasn't doing that.
We were doing stupid things. We were racing. Gwinnett was wide open back then.
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of traffic and so. Okay.
Yeah.
The girls were always the ones saying, "Stop it, slow down, quit doing that."
Yeah.
I didn't know one that wanted to do it, and she's driving right alongside them.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
That's different. That's different in the last 2 generations.
Well, Mean Girls. I mean, ever since the women's lib and the cell phone. I mean, between those 2 things, women don't have to take any crap off anybody. They want to be. I mean, look at the daredevil stuff that's going on. The people who jump off the cliffs and do the death dive and stuff. Those are girls.
Those are TikTok idiots. Yeah, because they want to be influencers.
Oh my God, and they're doing it, I guess. Anyway, I can't imagine what his draft status is. I mean, would you even pick him if his judgment? Here's the other thing. I remember a very specific case in my childhood when my older brother was the goody. My older brother Gene was a PGA golf pro. He was always the goody 2-shoes in the family, 2 years older than I was. And I was trying to react to the fact that I had a boy's name, Kim. It was a girl's name, and so I was trying to show that I was whatever. Anyway, I remember one day I was probably 10, maybe 9 or 10, so he would probably been 11 or 12. And we were throwing rocks up in the air at something, just see however you could throw the rocks. And I threw one way up high. And I unfortunately kind of aimed it sort of off to the left. And there was a car coming down the street. And the rock hit the car as it was driving away. And I started to run away. And Gene said, no. Well, hold on a minute. Hold on. No, you can't just flee. You can't just leave. You know, and so I stayed there, and nothing.
Idiot.
As it turned out, nothing happened. But I mean, that was a lesson to me, you know, about taking responsibility. I've told you the story of my father making me lose my license when I could have gotten it back to learn a lesson.
Never heard of that.
And now I'm thinking. I mean, my God. This is just what is it? How come his first thought is to flee and then to lie? I mean, those are two
because
when people are dead.
Money's on the line. He's about to be drafted in the NFL draft. He doesn't need to be around any of this. He knows it was a bad thing. That's why he left.
But to me, that is the worst. Of the things that happened, the people died. But the worst thing about his behavior was not that he was, you know, being stupid, because young people are stupid. They were drinking, they were stupid, and they're stupid. And I was stupid, and you were stupid, and Founder was stupid. So we're all stupid, and everybody knows that. You know, that's just the way life is.
Stupid.
And you know, it's still a little stupid. Okay. But you know, it's the what do they call it? The something effect, where the stupid people die off, and
Darwin.
The Darwin effect, the Darwin theory, yeah. But again, if your first thoughts are that, I mean, that to me is just a lack of
me,
God.
me and my money. He's thinking about him and his money is what he was thinking about.
How could he possibly think that he was going to get away with pretending he was never there?
I know. With cameras everywhere now.
But what kind of brain process is it if he was
He's
sober
not thinking.
to think, crap, I wasn't even there, officer. I mean, can you imagine the balls on this guy?
He was scared crapless is what happened. He was like, oh my God, I've screwed up everything. And it took about an hour to realize they're going to see me on camera somewhere. They know I was here.
He apparently the UGA guy called him or something and said, you need to go back to the scene
the fixer.
or something. Yeah,
the fixer guy.
Said, no, you need to go to the cops. But again, if I were a GM,
the Wolf.
Like,
is that what the Wolf, Mr. Wolf? Or
yeah. The secret. John Beresford Tipton is the name.
I'm thinking about
a billionaire.
The Pulp Fiction. Remember?
Yeah, right.
What actor is that? Harvey Keitel. The Wolf
fixer.
or something. Yeah.
Okay, I need lots of cleaning products to get the back seat.
Is there a sign in front of my house?
But again, if that's your first thought, how can you try? I don't. Do you? I mean, if he's one of the best defensive players that'll go into the NFL, if you're a general manager, you say, you know, he's a scumbag, but he's a great football player. If it's all business at that level, they got the guy in Cleveland quarterback.
He also disappears sometimes, again, like the Ohio State game, where you're like. Gosh, he's not doing anything.
Took the day off,
there. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I remember that.
Or he got manhandled.
Yeah. And that's...
So I would pick... See, my number one pick would be that dude from Alabama, the rusher. He reminds me of Micah Parsons.
Yeah, that was the other guy that they're talking about as a number
Will
one
Anderson,
pick.
I think. Yeah, that's the guy I would go
that's
for.
That's the guy that they say was the more consensus defense number one pick.
But who knows?
Maybe number one overall.
It's a crap. The Falcons will pick probably a third-string cornerback from Clemson. They'll cut in 3 years. That's the way they do it.
Now, what should they do? What should they take? Do we need a defensive
Falcons?
back? Do we need a pass rusher?
We need everything.
I know.
What if C.J. Stroud's still there or Bryce Young? Do you go get a quarterback?
Did you see the story that floated that Tom Brady signed with the Falcons?
No, that's a joke.
Well, they got to get a quarter. They got to get somebody. They got to rely on Ritter on the rookie, or now it's be second year guy.
Tamar is a history. Back in 1981 or 83, Terry Bradshaw had to go in the hospital for something, a little surgery or something. So he didn't want anyone to know, so he used a pseudonym. Do you know what name he used?
It wasn't Ron Mexico.
No, it was Tom Brady.
No kidding. Is that right?
How weird is that? Because no one knew.
Well, no, Tom Brady wasn't even born in 1983.
Yeah.
He wasn't born. Well, maybe it was 2. Yeah, he was 2. He was.
He was born.
He
probably.
was maybe born and maybe 1 year old. He's 42 now.
How weird that he would choose that name.
I know. I don't. Isn't that funny? Ron Mexico, of course, was our dog killer. When he had his fake name.
And me on 96 Rock with the regular guys. That's what my name was.
Oh, is that what you were?
And it took that idiot program director of ours, you know, the moron that fired everybody. It took him like 3 months to figure out that was me.
Was that TikTok?
No, that was the last idiot.
Oh, I don't know.
What did they call you?
Yeah, you do.
Oh.
The worst one of all of them. That idiot. And he confronts me in the hallway. How come you didn't tell me you're doing this? And I said, because it's none of your business.
Yeah.
This
What
has
an-
nothing to
oh,
do
I-
with GST. It's
Yeah.
This is 96 Rock thing. It's
Yeah.
none of your business.
Yeah.
If you got a problem, go talk to 96 Rock's PD.
Yeah.
What did they call you on the regular, guys?
Ron Mexico.
Which was.
That was Larry. Larry came up with that.
Yeah. Oh my. All right. Coming up. We're gonna hear some sound from President Stupid that should have, if he had been a Republican and said these things, not only would he have been impeached twice each time somebody heard these things, he would be the laughingstock of the world. And the media would never have let it go. In fact, they're not even covering, I think. We'll talk about it here in a second. Two sound bites, which are just absolutely appalling. And I got some serious questions about these hearings going on in Washington. We're going to talk a little about that, too. And did you hear the Ted Cruz sound bite? We'll get to that.
By the way, I wish happy birthday to my sister. It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday. Now, is she the one who showed it that day at the studio?
Yes.
It was a funny
Who the hell is
we're
that?
we're in the studio. We're talking, and I see this girl's face in the window of the door. And she's looking like that, and I can't remember whether you spotted her or something. And
Well, I looked over
reacted.
there, and I didn't recognize her at first because it was kind of hazy through the window.
Yeah,
and
little
then I
door-
looked
little
back
window in the
again
door.
because she didn't leave. And I was like, holy cow, I know her.
It's his sister showed up from Nebraska.
She had
or
talked her
something.
way in. And she got past what's her face, the cutie at the front desk.
Oh, Ashley.
Ashley, she talked her way
dreamboat.
past Ashley and got all the way to the studio. She could have had a gun, shot us all.
Unbelievable. Anyway, she just showed up out of the blue from somewhere around the
Utah.
country. And
I hadn't seen her in years.
Utah. She
Utah.
shows up, hadn't seen her, all of a sudden she's there in the studio looking through the window. Hey, happy birthday,
What the
sis.
hell? Yeah, happy birthday.
Now, is she back in Utah?
No, I stayed with them.
Oh, that's the
last
sis
couple
up
of
here.
months.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
Ken.
thought. Oh, yeah.
Ken.
Do you have two sisters or just one?
Just one.
Oh, okay, that was my confusion. And you have a brother? Don't you have a brother or no? Yeah. But you don't like him, right?
No, we love him. He's just hiding out in the hills.
No,
of the,
I'm only teasing. I'm only
He's
messing.
somewhere in the
I
Rocky
have a
Mountains.
brother-
We don't know where.
I have a brother who's dead to me. And I've told my kids he's dead to me. And if he contacts you or talks to you about something, don't tell me because he's dead to me for a whole bunch of reasons. Scumbag.
I'm sorry I brought that up. I was just going to wish a happy birthday
I do.
to my
I'm
sister.
so
I didn't mean to
freaking
bring up
furious
any
about
bad memories.
Anyway, okay. All right. Let's do something fun. Let's talk about. For once, let's talk about getting that new whip. You want a new swapping your whip? A whip, of course, is a colloquial expression for a ride. If you'd like to swap your whip, check it out with our Kibber Show sponsor, podcast sponsor, SwapMyWhip.com. Whip is a term for a ride. And if you have like-minded car owners like you, and you go to SwapMyWhip.com and you see, ooh, that guy's got a 92 Camaro I've always wanted, and I can swap mine with this, I'll get in contact with him. Or he's got a friend who's got something you're looking for, whatever. You see what I mean? You have no middleman, no salespeople, no dealerships and all this stuff to deal with. And at SwapMyWhip.com, it's obviously not strictly cars. It's obviously trucks and SUVs and things like that, but also boats, jet skis, off-road vehicles, ATVs, go-karts, fancy bicycles, I guess. I mean, if it's a whip, it's a ride, it's a swapper. SwapMyWhip.com. And use the coupon code KIMMER, KIMMER, for 180 days of free SwapMyWhip.com. It might be just the happiest thing you've done in a long time. SwapMyWhip.com. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is a couple of just outrageous things going on here. Well, I mean, I didn't even hear about it for some reason until this morning, and I don't know whether I didn't check my sources again or something. But we're going to wait till Flounder comes back in the room because I need a soundbite here. President Stupid was talking about situations to the Democratic caucus conference last night in Baltimore. And they started, well, first of all, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was pinning blame on the government for failing to stop the inflow of illicit drugs into America during her House hearing on her southern border in crisis in response to a woman named Rebecca Kiesling, whose two little sons died from fentanyl poisoning They thought they were taking Percocet pills and they had fentanyl and they died. Again, why drug dealers or why people are making fake medicines are putting fentanyl in it is beyond me. Why would you want to kill the people buying your product? Anyway, they are. And why anybody? In fact, there was just a warning yesterday. If you're going on spring break, people, especially women, going on spring break to Mexico, don't go buy all their drugs that you can't get in America, because this is where the bad drugs are being found. The drugs with fentanyl in them that you can't buy over the counter in America. You can buy almost any kind of drug over the counter in Mexico. And that's what
we used to go in the 80s and get
road trips.
antibiotics.
Yeah,
or anything.
absolutely. People who lived in Southern California would drive to Mexico just for the, did pick
No
you wanted to pick
prescription.
up the pharmacy stuff. Yeah. Well, again, they're saying the government actually warned, said, don't buy the pills. This is what's happening. You could die. And again, if you're a 14-year-old kid taking a Percocet because you think it makes you feel better and you're dead forever, I mean, my God, you were poisoned. Anyway, so she complained about that. She said the government has failed you, failed American families. It's failing, most of all, it's failing our children and our young people. Now, Flounder, if you would get the soundbite, she says, listen to this mother who lost 2 children to fentanyl. Because the Biden administration refusal to secure the border and stop the cartels from murdering Americans every day by Chinese fentanyl. Now, Flounder, if you would get the soundbite of President Showers with daughter, here's what he said discussing the issue of closing the border and the children dying of fentanyl.
She was very specific recently, saying that a poor mother who lost 2 kids to fentanyl, that I killed her sons. Well, the interesting thing is that fentanyl they took came during the last administration.
You don't know that. How does he know that?
Well, he has a little chuckle there. I mean, when he's making a little joke about the fentanyl coming from the last administration. What came over yesterday?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? But again, he's laughing it off. He chuckled about it. And then he said, isn't Marjorie Taylor Greene amazing? Oof. And laughed again. And he says, I should digress. Probably I've read she was very specific recently, saying, Mom, I killed her things. Comments from Republicans, shameful and embarrassing. The death was a result of murder. Absolutely appalling. People are astounded that he's getting away with laughing and giggling about the fentanyl crisis. And by the way, well, we'll get.
What is he doing to stop it? And what if it did
He's
come
doing
under Trump?
nothing.
What are you? You're president now, doofus.
Okay.
What are you doing to stop it right now?
Okay. In fact, I was going to say this point about the hearings for later. Let me make this point. We believe everybody pretty much is, I think, confirmed that the fentanyl crisis is a result of the drug cartels from mostly Mexico or south of the border. It's the drug cartels making and manufacturing the fentanyl products coming across America, killing our kids. That's pretty much.
I thought it was coming from China.
Well, okay, the fentanyl comes from China, but the Chinese aren't making the fentanyl pills and bringing it to America. The fentanyl comes from China, I think mostly, but it comes through the cartel. It's the cartel issue coming across the border that's leading to the fentanyl problem. The pills coming across the border of Mexico. And we believe that it's from the Mexican cartels. First of all, even despite that, why aren't liberals appalled that our children are dying from illegal drugs coming across the border?
I don't care about kids.
Okay. Secondly, I wonder if the word came out suddenly that we were able to brainwash everybody starting tomorrow, and starting tomorrow, everybody in America knew. Everybody thought in America, starting tomorrow, that the fentanyl issue is made by the Proud Boys white supremacy organization, and they're doing it deliberately to kill America's children. Do you think that then the liberals would say, well, we can't let them do that. We can't have the Proud Boys murdering our children. What if it came from the MAGA factories? What if Donald Trump was getting back at all the people who didn't vote for him by murdering our children with the Proud Boys MAGA pharmaceutical cartel by Republican white supremacists killing our children? I guarantee you the administration would have shut the border. They would have shot all the people making the pills. They would have bombed all the cartel headquarters. borders. How is it possible that because I don't know how anybody accepts it?
They're all paid off.
By whom? I mean, what Democrat in Congress? Okay, how?
Why do you think the Democrats or the leftists care about kids when they allow drag queens to come into public schools and teach about anal sex to 11-year-olds?
Well, that's one thing, but dying is a whole other thing. How is it possible that nobody seems to... the only one solution to stopping the fentanyl crisis is, one, to stop it at the factories in China if you can, but the other thing is to close the freaking border.
They're not going to do that.
Come on.
They're not going to do that.
How's the drug getting here? They know how it's getting here. In fact, when we get to Cruz, I want to ask.
Why should they? They keep winning elections. Why should they do anything we want them to do?
Well,
because idiots still vote for them.
I know.
They just mentioned Trump, and everything else is trumped.
I know. Again, yeah, here for Trump, laugh, laugh, laugh. Flounder, if you would get the other soundbite for me here, sir, in just a second. Again, President showers with daughter, has once again told one of his famous stories, and I don't, I'll bet you if I were a photographer, when he starts going into, when he gets, there was a time back in my, when he starts doing that, when he starts going into, oh, here comes old grandpa with a story from his youth, I would be like me, it's a story.
A little self-awareness.
Well, that's why I should not be president. And he's 3 years older than I am. So, I mean, come on. Anyway, if I were a photographer, I would be taking secret pictures of his staff members when he starts going into the, because they're going, oh shit, here we go. You know they're on. Oh God, stop him, hook. I mean that would be funny as hell because they're going nuts. Anyway, he talks about a special nurse that he had once in his life who
blew him.
She blew him away with her incredible professional care. Flounder, if you will.
I had a nurse named Pearl Nelson, military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection. She even went home and brought back her pillow from her own bed because she knew the one I had that wasn't comfortable. But I'm not joking.
No joke.
He's never joking. You notice that? No joke. No joke.
No, I'm serious.
How does the cabinet watch this and not invoke the 25th Amendment? This man has lost his mind. Good thing he's not in charge of a nuclear arsenal or something like that.
If I had a nurse bend over and breathing
in
on
your
me,
nose,
I'd be hitting that button.
Breathing in your nose.
No.
He said, a podcaster, Mike Crispy, said, Joe Biden has managed to top his, I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid.
Why was he in the hospital?
Oh, he was. This was from the 80s, or this was the years and years.
What did happen to him? It sounds like he's in a coma.
No, I think. Remember, he had a heart issue or something. He had or a brain blockage or something. No. In fact, you should Google. I should have Googled
maybe
this too.
or something.
He had. I don't think he had a stroke, but he definitely had a serious medical issue that I think was a mini stroke or a mini heart episode of some kind. More comments. His nurse did what? Where are the men in the white coats? Dana Lesh, why is he so weird? I mean, this man is unbelievable. And by the way, most of his stories are just lies.
Yeah.
Getting arrested with Nelson Mandela. I think he does believe him. It's like OJ thinks, somebody else did it. I wonder if on his deathbed he's going to admit it. I wonder if he thinks that'll keep him out of hell. I wonder if he believes in heaven and hell.
He's that delusional.
I mean, I wonder whether O.J. Simpson believes. I bet he doesn't believe in hell. I bet he thinks he's too good to have a hell.
I did that run that night. I was in L.A. in the 90s right after it happened, and I did the run from Metzaluna to her house to his house, back and forth. He had plenty of time.
Well, not only that, if I recall correctly, no one's ever really followed this up. When he got to Chicago's O'Hare Airport, at Chicago's O'Hare Airport, in front of where you walk into the main terminal building, are giant bins of trash receptacles. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, somebody testified they saw him drop a gym bag into one of those things. That's where the knife is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They'll never find it.
No, it's over. Okay, now.
How about speaking of Chicago? How about that 4 years ago, she's elected mayor.
Oh, Mayor lighting the brains.
And then 4 years later, the same people who elected her kick her out because she sucks. And she goes, no, it's because I'm a black woman in America.
Yeah.
What?
Notice she left off the part that she's a lesbian. It said because she's a woman and she's black, but she didn't say because I'm a lesbian, because she couldn't, that would be kind of hard to figure out. So, but again, and by the way, she's the creepiest looking public
she's
official I've
Beetlejuice.
ever
Well,
seen.
did you hear what she said?
Beetlejuice.
She said, we made Chicago safer while I was here.
I'm
She's
so proud. Hold my
insane.
head high. Yeah.
The Daily Mail had it was the first story, and it had her sitting there with the look on her face like, ooh. And then the next thing, it was a video of her dancing in the snow,
Right.
doing this, and then it had the crime figures next to that. It was unbelievable.
First time in 40 years a mayor did
Blatant
not get
lies.
reelected.
Blatant lies.
A black female lesbian not getting reelected in Chicago is hard. I mean,
Well, it's all those white Southerners who moved to Chicago in the
that's
last
the
4
other.
years.
They're blaming MAGA Republicans on too many conservatives now in South Side Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right near the Putty Tat Museum, huh? On Cicero Avenue and all. Yeah, oh my God.
So did you see the picture of her? It's her standing like by a carpet like this, and there's $20 bills that spell out "Get Vaxxed."
Oh my! I love it. And by the way, that's the other. I mentioned here about the liberals now starting to suffer for their policies. Was a big story a couple of days ago in Portland. Residents are saying everybody's gone. He said the businesses are fleeing. It's a ghost town.
They've destroyed it. It was the jewel of the
Nobody
West
can
Coast.
live there. You can't live there anymore. You can't trust it's safe. You can't trust anything. You can't live a normal, healthy American life anymore in a city like Portland, which, by the way, used to be known for. I mean, it was a liberal city. It had terrible weather, rains every freaking second of every day, I guess. But the beautiful scenery. Oregon, my
beautiful.
God, it's one of the most magnificent geographical pieces of land
What's
in
it?
the world.
Rainier? What's that? What was that? Shasta?
I think that's Washington. Yeah, yeah. I mean, whatever. I mean,
Beautiful.
The whole,
Mount
the
Hood.
forest at
I
Mount,
think
yeah,
it's
Mount Hood.
Mount Hood.
And all of a sudden now they've ruined it.
They've destroyed it. The brown shirts have taken over. The crime runs that city.
And all those freaks from California started going north, and the people in north said, no, we don't want you. No, we're fine, thanks. You stay where you are. And now Portland's dying. I mean, and by the way, if you don't have businesses to support you, it's over. You're not going to get enough money on real estate taxes to support systems.
I was there in 2005. I was there for 2 or 3 days, and one day I just walked around. It was the most depressing place I've ever been, because at every street corner there was these teenagers or 20-somethings dressed all in black with the black face and the eyes, and all literally sitting on their ass, blocking the sidewalks with their hand out. All of them.
Well, because they get away with it.
Able-bodied, could work, but they're just sitting there going, hey, give me some money. Fuck you.
Hard to believe.
Depressing.
Hard to believe. All right, now I want to take on the Senate hearing business.
Have y'all seen the video of it's in downtown St. Louis?
Oh yeah, the shooting. And by the way,
That's
what
an
about
execution.
But let's talk about the guy taking the video.
that's what I don't
What's he
understand.
supposed to do? The guy's got a gun.
The guy was sitting there for maybe 5 minutes trying to load the damn thing. I mean, he could have done something.
He could have yelled, I guess.
I don't understand who the guy was taking the video, though. Was he part of? Did he know
I don't. It
them?
looked like he was in a band, like some place that had an
But
enclosed.
why was he taking video of just two guys? One guy sitting down, the other guy standing there. They weren't doing it.
The only thing I can think of is he saw something and then started filming.
The story I understand was they had a run-in previously to the scene of what you see of the one guy sitting down on the sidewalk. And then the guy behind him fiddling with something. I couldn't tell what it was, but the video, it turns out he was loading a gun. That's what he was doing. And then he shoots the guy on the sidewalk in the head.
A homeless guy.
Yeah, homeless guy. But apparently there had been some interaction with the two of them before that. But again, I wonder if that's why the guy had the camera saying, I saw them fighting earlier. I wonder what's going on now. That was never explained. And
So it was
by the
almost
way,
like, was that stage 2 of whatever situation
what
was
did
going
he do
on?
when did he go chase the guy with a gun, or I don't know what happened after that. They cut the
Did they
video.
catch the guy? Who did
Yeah,
it?
they've caught him. Yeah, and he was a scumbag, just a guy. It's broad daylight, St. Louis, right there in front
Black
of God
on
and
black
everybody.
crime.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Senate hearing with that midget Merrick Garland, that brain dwarf, the temporary attorney general. He hemmed and hawed and disagreed. He denied every possible charge leveled against politicization, politicization and politicalization, yeah, thank you, of the Department of Justice. From the Hunter Biden laptop, he says, "Oh well, I wanted to make sure I didn't want to interfere with the Delaware Attorney General who's investigating this kind of stuff." What's that got to do with the? Anyway, that's what he said. That's how he gets away with it. About the cartels at the border, he said he actually had a comment where he said, "We have been arresting people left and right. We've made more arrests than anyone ever has, and if we are cracking down and going after all these people and doing a wonderful job for the proud men and women of our just bullshitting." I mean, there's no possible way that he's telling the truth about any of that stuff. He said everybody's doing great on the Mar-a-Lago raid with the weapons of war and the gunboats and the gunship choppers over above ready to kill everybody. He said, "Oh no, we there's," and I'll talk about the FBI guy too. But Garland said, "Well, no, every situation is based on what the needs are to make an arrest if need be." And so that was, and so they said, "Well, what's the difference in that and going to the Christian guy with the 7 children and using SWAT teams with him when he didn't?" He said, "Well, no, every case is different." We'll talk about the FBI part of it in a second. But first, the Mar-a-Lago raid, the weapons of war, the SWAT boats. The Washington Post, by the way, has shown that there is a huge amount of dissent among FBI agents who thought it was not necessary to do all that show of force at Mar-a-Lago. And again, what was the reason? They were really afraid that some cook is going to be charging out with a weapon to shoot the... I mean, they could have just knocked on the door and said, "Okay, we're here to get your documents." There was no need. Nobody was there.
Political theater.
Right. And again, Merrick Garland defends it, saying, "Well, it was just, what the commanders thought at the time." Bullshit. Again, Merrick Garland was the guy who was deprived the seat on the Supreme Court because of conservatives. He's getting back on it now. Now, Ted Cruz tried to get him to answer questions. Flounder, if you would. The Ted Cruz comment goes to the very heart of, thank God, what the Republicans are now going to do, since they are finally at least in charge of the House and not yet in charge of the Senate, but at least it leads to this. Here's Ted Cruz.
Senator.
But in the wake of the leak of the Dobbs decision, when rioters descended on the homes of 6 Supreme Court justices, night after night after night, you did nothing. The department did nothing. When extremist groups like Ruth Sent Us and Jane's Revenge openly organized campaigns of harassment at the homes of justices, you sat on your hands. When these same groups posted online information about where the justices worship or their home addresses or where their kids went to school, you again sat on your hands and did nothing. Your failure to act to protect the safety of the justices and their families was an obvious product of political bias. You agree with Roe versus Wade. You disagree with the Dobbs decision. And the Department of Justice under this president was perfectly happy to refuse to enforce the law and allow threats of violence. And as you know, those threats finally materialized with Nicholas Roski, a 26-year-old man from California who traveled across the country, was arrested outside the home of Justice Kavanaugh, armed with a handgun, a knife, and burglary tools. And he said he came there to kill Justice Kavanaugh because he was enraged by the leaked opinion.
Boom. He has no answers for anything. In fact, when Garland was asked about the school boards, remember the issue when the FBI was actually
the Attorney General. Give me your.
Okay, you got
This is where what's his name? Hallway.
Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley grills him on the pro-lifers.
Excellent. Let's do it.
This is a really good one. Turn the volume up a little bit. Here we go.
Again, this is a Senate hearing.
The Attorney General, give me your answer. Do you think that it was objectively reasonable and they followed your guidelines in sending 20 to 30 armed agents to terrorize these people? Yes or no?
The facts I have, which are those presented by the FBI, are not consistent with your description.
So you think it was reasonable?
I'm saying the facts are not as you described.
What, that the children weren't there? That there wasn't, that there weren't long guns there? That there weren't agents? What wasn't, what do you dispute? What's the factual premise you dispute? Be
FBI
specific.
said they don't agree with your description of...
Be specific. They don't agree with what?
Of of how many agents, of the agents who were there, and of what their roles were. They don't agree.
Philadelphia District Attorney declines to prosecute. The private suit's dismissed. You use an unbelievable show of force with guns that I just note liberals usually decry.
Weapons of war.
We're supposed to hate long guns and assault-style weapons. You're happy to deploy them against Catholics and innocent children. Happy to. And then you haul him into court and a jury acquits him in 1 hour. I just suggest to you that that is a disgraceful performance by your Justice Department and a disgraceful use of resources.
And he's doing it to get back at conservatives.
Yeah. Or he's being
I
told
hate
to.
people like this.
He's being told to do this is what's happening. He's a puppet.
He is a puppet. And again, it's not Biden. It's not President Showers with
too
daughter.
stupid.
It's his puppeteers who are...
Obama and
Yeah.
Susan Rice and all those ilk that are behind the scenes that are doing it. Valerie Jarrett and all that.
When Merrick Garland was asked about the school board business, remember, the administration wanted the Justice Department and the FBI to crack down on parents who were mad at critical race theory and gender things being taught in schools. Remember, this is when the guy from Virginia said, well, parents don't have any right to tell us what we should be teaching in schools. Remember, that was the whole thing going on there. And so Merrick Garland had his memo from after the White House said, we need you to crack down on these school board meetings because people are yelling at us and we don't like it and it hurts our little feelings. He said, it's about time to crack down on these white supremacists, danger to America, the potentially violent, what was it called? Violent protesters at public school board meetings or so forth. And when they asked him about that, he said, why you wrote that letter? Because the White House wanted you to crack down on peaceful
Domestic
protests.
terrorists.
Yeah, domestic, that was what it was. We want to fight domestic terrorism at school board meetings. And he said, and they said, what are you talking about? What domestic? He said, well, we weren't telling the school boards what to do. We never told the school boards what to do. What we said was, we want to make sure that there's no violence at public meetings. Which is not what they said. I mean, that wasn't it. He's just lying. They're just faking answers.
You know what their latest is? They think traditional Catholics, or the ones that are the strongest about family, traditional Catholics are now a threat and domestic terrorists. So guess what? That means that around this country, they are infiltrating Catholic schools and Catholic
catechism classes probably and Sunday
churches.
School and, yeah.
So if you're Catholic, be very careful who you talk to about the federal government, because for a fact the FBI has people. They won't go in mosques, but by God, they'll go into a Catholic church.
Yeah. Yeah. And there were a whole bunch of members of the FBI, including the top agents. As I understand it, the top guy who was in charge of that Mar-a-Lago raid said when he was given the orders to have 24 armed, he said, no, we'll just go there. We don't need all this. We'll just go knock on the door. We know, they knew it was there. It's not like they had to try to fight it. They just had to go there. And he said, no, we can't do that. That's so wrong. It's not necessary. There's no reason to have a deploy all da-da-da. And he said, you'll do it this way because that's the way it's supposed to be. That was Merrick Garland who made them do it. And the FBI, the head FBI guy, said, I don't want to do it. He said, I won't quit over it, but it's wrong and I don't want to do it. And there's a whole group of FBI agents in a fairly high up level who are in charge of putting together these, events when they go out to get somebody, who are saying this is wrong.
Where are you getting that? I don't believe that for a second.
The Washington Post is but again, until they're willing to come out and picket in front of FBI headquarters.
It means nothing.
Well, but again,
we were following orders.
That's
right.
right.
What they're doing. They're doing the Nazi thing at Nuremberg.
That's right.
We were following orders.
Yep. And that's exactly why the FBI has to be gutted and start over. And now let's get to Chrissy Ray. Brett Baer the other day interviewed Chrissy Ray on his show for a very long time, and I think there's even more that's available on the web. Chrissy Ray is a sleazy, slippery, arrogant, slime bag, gutless, temporary FBI director, and shame on Brett Baer for the interview and the way he handled it. For example, January 6th, Brett Baer said, well, now, how many of the undercover agents or assets or FBI assistant people did you have at the January 6th rally and protest, and why didn't they do something to stop events from getting out of hand? And he said something like, there's information. I as you can imagine, Brett, I can't really talk about handling of FBI operations. That's kind of classified information. Oh, it's classified. It's classified. Don't follow up. Oh, okay. Is he just not going to talk about it?
Now, he did press him a little bit on the Twitter thing, said we never told Twitter what to do.
That's that point. Don't get ahead of me now. Don't get ahead of me. He didn't.
And the only reason he pressed him because it's actually been reported by Matt Taibbi.
It's in black and white. But again, he didn't want to talk about secret agents who may have started the whole thing, including telling people where to go and make sure they got inside. He said he had the balls to say that there is no bias in the FBI. The FBI is a proud organization which is only involved with law and order. He denied there was any kind of politicization of the FBI. He denied that there were people out to work against law and order in this country. He praised him. I mean, it's a damn... I can't freaking believe it. He said, in fact, this killed me. He said, in fact, Brett, the FBI has now received more resumes for people wanting to join the FBI than ever before in history. We have thousands and thousands of young Americans who want to be FBI agents now more than ever, proving how much they love the FBI in America today, Brett.
Leftists, yeah.
Well, here's one of the resumes of one of the FBI recruits, which I had forwarded to me from, let's just say a source.
All right, a source.
Aiden Flinderman, age 28. Oh, we're getting more Venmo things.
Thank you very much.
Aiden Flinderman, age 28, San Jose, California. Education, Social Justice Academy of Berkeley. Bachelor's degree in gender studies from Wellesley College, master's degree from Smith College with thesis work in white supremacy and lingering effects on pre-K Georgia schools. Recent work history from 2018 to present, official supervisor of parental housing unit, including refuse removal, sanitation inspector overseeing both interior lavatory executive cleanliness inspection, as well as exterior architectural, structural, and landscaping organizer. Duties include for the parental housing unit, complete and absolute responsibility from my basement headquarters of all aspects of clean and humane living conditions. Special note, am willing to work undercover at school board meetings, white supremacy, secret ceremonies, undercover asset manipulation against civilians, monitoring of social media insurrectionists and comments. Pronouns, yummy and scrumptious. Salary requirements, $190,000 to $210,000 per year, Federal Bureau car and housing allowance. References, see Mrs. Herman Flinderman at the same address. Note, I don't work on George Floyd Day. Special interests, origami, history of acrylic artworks, feline superiority in ancient Egypt, walks on the beach, sodomy, the effect of the racist homophobe Dr. Seuss on American society, executive director of the No Cash Bail Society, and associate deacon at the Church of the Ain't Gender Any Gender Jesus. So there you are. That's one of the followers who's hoping to become a new FBI agent, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds to me like there's something wrong. And incidentally, when Chrissy Ray, the sleazy, slippery, oily snake of a director of the FBI who's having me follow. I caught two. The chase car, they used to use Ford, the big four-door Galaxy 500s. Now they switched to Camrys. They got two different Camrys following me now. On my way to the stable, I have to take different routes because I see them switching off with their earpiece at the corner right by the Publix when I'm cutting off onto mid-Broadwell. Anyway, so they're, and I know my phone's tapped. You can hear the clicking all the time. But when he was asked about social media, Brett Baer said, now, what about social media? Now, you're telling social media, warning them about Russian disinformation to help Joe Biden or Hillary against Donald Trump. He says, oh, no, we never did that. What we do is, because we're concerned with law and order in America, and we want to make sure that if there's a danger to something happening to affect American society, we need to pass that along to those who might be involved. So we just, as a matter of decency, we want to make sure that people are informed about what might be happening out there. And Brett says, oh, okay. Instead of saying, let me read the words for you. He could have read the tweets.
I know.
I can't. I couldn't. I'm dying. I'm saying, Brett, gee, I'm going to get to rip it out of your freaking mouth. Yeah, just Jesus. I mean, honestly, I couldn't believe it. This is on Fox. We're doomed. He got away with it.
Of course he did.
Oh, God, I mean, I can't believe it. He said, we're not interfering with politics. That's not something we do. Although later on, apparently it was revealed that one of the FBI agents made a phone call to that Martian who's in charge of Facebook, Zuckerberg, and he said, Mark, we're just giving you a little tip here that you're going to get some information here that you really don't want to ignore because it could affect the outcome of the Democrat elections thing, and we wouldn't want anything to upend your business or that pretty little wife of yours. Huh? Is she doing all right? Is she so far? It'd be a shame if anything happened to the that pretty little wife. But again, just a tip, Mark, to kind of be a lookout for some Russian disinformation. Okay, all right, great talking to you. Yeah, it was a tip. I totally, nothing really serious. Let's see. Sleazy, slippery. They talked about the Mar-a-Lago raid. And again, Brett Baer should have said, again, we know Merrick Garland made it happen. Brett Baer said, do you agree, do you think the raid on Mar-a-Lago that had 24 SWAT team killer riflemen, weapons of war, assassins, at 6 o'clock in the morning flooding Mar-a-Lago, do you really think that was necessary? And he said something like, the planners of the mission are only concerned with what might be the best way to appropriately make sure that if there's an arrest involved, that it would be done with the least amount of damage possible and the least amount of violence or something. In other words, he just justified because that's what that's the way that we planned it, and that's just the way it was supposed to be. Instead of saying, and Brett should have said, "Wait a minute, you didn't do that to Pence, you didn't do it to." I mean, there's a million ways he could have said. Did you personally say, I want this guy and that guy and these teams and a helicopter and the boat of killers out in the bay and everything else? Did you demand that they do it that way? And do you think you made the right choice? No follow-ups. He just made these ridiculous comments. And next question. I honestly, I could not believe it. I could not believe it. And he's getting away with it. Smug, arrogant, smart. Did you see any of his tests? Oh my God! Just astounding and disgusting. I'm sorry to be so
fascinating tirade brought to you by FarmhousePrintingCo.com. Custom shirts, hats, signs, promotional items, no minimum order, no setup fees. Order 1, order 1,000. It doesn't matter. They got laser engraving for the tough stuff. They do all our work here. They do the HCIS. They do Shannon Burke stuff. They do all the stuff for the Kimmer Show.
The podcast blanket, my golf towel for my son-in-law.
Great stuff. So FarmhousePrintingCo.com. We really appreciate all
the bingo
that.
shirt. They have a bingo shirt.
Yeah,
you want the Kimmer Show bingo shirt.
Now.
They actually have one.
Yeah, they do. Eric has done that. Yeah. It's brilliant.
And again, you can only order one. You don't have to order 50 to make a bulk thing. If you want one shirt, get one shirt. And I drove down there and actually met with them. So they have a Kimmer Show dog, puppy right there, a beautiful golden retriever. Anyway, good people. And
all right, what you got next? What's next?
Kyle Rittenhouse. So I couldn't believe this. Kyle Rittenhouse, again, the kid who involved when he was 17 years old, is now being sued by the guy he shot in the arm. The guy he shot was a convicted child molester who pointed a gun at him. And even I remember, Kyle Rittenhouse was found innocent almost immediately of the charge of shooting the guy because he was totally in self-defense. And remember the business that happened back then during the riots. And they should play the soundbite of the guy who got shot, the bad guy who got shot, on the stand. And the guy said, "Is that you with the gun behind Kyle Rittenhouse?" "Yeah, that's me." "Is that you? Did you see Kyle Rittenhouse holding his gun, but not at you?" "Yes, I do." "Do you see now the picture where you're pointing your gun at Kyle Rittenhouse?" "Yes, I do." "Did Kyle Rittenhouse shoot at you before you pointed the gun?" "No." "Did Kyle Rittenhouse shoot you after you pointed the gun at him?" "Yes, he did."
Goodbye.
So in other words, Kyle Rittenhouse didn't do anything until you pointed your gun at him, and then he shot in you in the arm. And now that guy is suing Kyle Rittenhouse in civil court, and he's and Kyle Rittenhouse I saw him interviewed, and he said, he said they're all coming after him. He said, I'll be doing this for years. He's got other civil suits too, and he's got one. You know, they have a whole bank of people being supported by Antifa and God knows what else.
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse has this one lawyer buddy of his who's trying to help him go through all these cases. Holy smokes!
They're going to wear him down, and sooner or later they'll get a jury that'll side with them.
Well, he says even if I win everything, he said this is going to, you know, I can't afford this. I can't keep doing this. And I can't do anything but this. You know, his life has been ruined because he was a kid who actually was found innocent of doing anything wrong. Anyway,
The moral of the lesson is, if you go to one of these things, put a mask on like they do. If it's suddenly legal to wear a mask and walk around with a gun in public, do it. That way, when you shoot and kill somebody, you can run away and they won't know who did it.
Or you can, if you get caught, you say, well, I was doing it for the Pelosi family to get back at those white supremacists who were trying to kill all the Democrats. You're free to go. Anyway, a couple of weird old things in the news here today. Did you hear about the Lady Gaga update story case? Remember, it was back in 2021. 48 hours after robbers stole her 2 French bulldogs and shot the guy who was walking her bulldogs, Lady Gaga went to Twitter with a desperate plea. This was 2 years ago. She said, my beloved dogs, Kochi and Gustav, were taken in Hollywood 2 nights ago. I will pay $500,000 for their safe return. If you bought or found them unknowingly, the reward is the same. 80 minutes after the tweet, a girl named Jennifer McBride brought the dogs to a Los Angeles police station, and she was arrested 2 months later because she knew the father of one of the guys who stole the dogs and shot the caretaker. So this woman who got the dog was convicted of 1 count of receiving stolen property, was sentenced to 2 years of probation, and now she's suing Lady Gaga because she says, I still should be paid because I brought back your dogs. She's suing Lady Gaga, whose legal name is Stephanie Germanata, that's Lady Gaga, for breach of contract and fraud. Yep. She made the $500,000 promise in bad faith, used the reward as a bait to induce the girl to come forward and put herself on law enforcement radar.
Remember, when this happened, Lady Gaga blamed MAGA Trump supporters.
Yeah. And now the case is pretty simple. They're saying Lady Gaga made a reward offer. She got her dogs back. Give me my money. Now, I don't know if there's
this hold up in court?
Well, this is in Los Angeles. I don't know if there is a local ordinance or a state law in California which says a person convicted of a certain level of crime cannot be rewarded for that crime. You know, like booksellers who commit murders and sell books. But this is different. This isn't that she wrote, or I don't know. I don't know whether there's a law.
It's like it's entrapment in a sense, isn't it?
Well, again, it could be. Even if it's totally innocent, she made the offer and got the dogs back. But then, if that was a girl who kidnapped them and then brought them back, would you still have to give her the reward? What if she did it? Would that still hold true? I mean, what's the difference? I don't know. I don't know the law. One more quick thing about politics. Actually, a couple of things. The Al Jazeera Constitution didn't even cover those hearings. It didn't even mention about FBI or AG or anything. There's a Republican congressman from Tennessee named Andrew Ogles, who's now facing allegations of embellishing his resume. Now they're coming out of the woodwork. These Democrats are trying to find every Republican they can who lied on his resume. So this Republican from Tennessee named Ogles acknowledged that he misstated the degree he had from Middle Tennessee State University. Tell me if you think this is a hit.
Wait. If you're going to make up something, make it something.
It's even worse. Wait, stop.
Middle Tennessee.
Let me do the thing, and then you tell me whether this is a hanging offense. Even worse than what you're thinking about right now. He acknowledged that the degree he received from Middle Tennessee State University, he mistakenly stated that he received his degree from Middle Tennessee State University in international relations. He has now admitted he lied. His degree was for liberal studies.
Oh, no. We'll kick him.
That's the issue. It wasn't, no. It wasn't international relations. It was your basic liberal study degree. And then he said, well, he also called himself an economist when, in fact, he took one community college course and almost flunked. I'm an economist.
We're all economists. I tell you what, we're better at predicting the economy than Robert Reich is.
Oh, my God. He's been
always
wrong.
They trot him out again. Who was that guy? Radicek. Donald Radicek at Georgia State. What an ass.
He was on our radio station
You know why?
every month. They'd have the reports came out, and they go to Donald Radicek.
Because we
every
sit there,
single time.
and every time I say, is there not someone else in Atlanta or the country you can talk to? Oh, no, he always answers the phone. It was laziness.
I know.
It was pure laziness. And I'll tell you, you know who damn
I
well
know.
was the one who always called him.
Absolutely. Screaming shrieker. Official report came out just at what we all knew. Official report by the government concerning the chicken-livered retreat in Afghanistan by American troops. The pullout in 2021 describes an abrupt and uncoordinated pullout and poor accountability for weapons sent to Afghanistan. $7 billion in military equipment was left under Taliban control. There was failure to create an independent and self-sustainable security force after 20 years and $90 billion in support. It was America's longest war. Tens of millions of dollars disappeared from Afghan government bank accounts during the Taliban comeback. It was a disaster, and now the government's finally said why. The poor planning. I'm telling you, General Silly Millie, the pronoun general, should have been court-martialed and put back to the rank of private and kicked out of the freaking army. And the same, there was also a Marine three-star general who was in charge of this stuff too. And he later testified before Congress, as I recall, and said, well, we all had problems with it. We said we should have been doing some other things, but you went along with it. Well, that's what they wanted to do. So, I mean, they were when they were asked about this horrible planning, shutting down the military airport and going to the civilian airport to get people out. What, are you kidding me? Anyway, stuff like that. And he said, well, there were reservations. There was a lot of dissent about it, but we went ahead with the plan.
Following orders.
Jesus.
We are just following orders.
Just freaking unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Yes.
Kimmer, are you tired of arriving to surprises at your weekend cabin?
Now that you've got that place up in the mountains, man, your whole weekend rental. I mean, I hope you have somebody take care of it for you.
Yeah, have a mountain home you're having trouble maintaining. We'll call North Georgia Intendancy. We can manage your North Central Georgia vacation, weekend, or rental house. You can relax at yours. Visit us at ngaintendancy.com or call 770-595-6664. That's 770-595-6664. 64.
Thank you so much. And by the way, Fernando just made us a very nice donation on Venmo. Thanks for what you guys do. Thanks for the work. Thank you, Fernando.
Oh, thank you.
God bless America. And I mentioned Annie gave us a little nice thing, and Denise with the happy Seuss Day and everything else. I'm going to ask you a couple of sports things here, and then I've got some more stuff going at some tweets.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah. Yes.
I made a faux pas at the grocery store. I went and found a local grocery store. It's a very nice grocery store.
Yeah.
And everyone's extremely friendly because it's the mountains, man. Everybody's friendly.
People are nicer in the mountains. They really are.
So I'm sitting there and I see a bunch of sweet tea, different varieties of sweet tea in this refrigerator case. Okay. So I turn my cart to go over there, and just then this cute blonde in tight blue jeans doesn't see me. She jumps up behind the bread ziggurat, which is this huge thing, and jumps in front of me there. So I stop the cart, and she turns and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got in front of you." I said, "Don't worry, don't worry." I said, "I'm in no hurry."
Yeah. So?
And she was reaching around, and she turned and looked back at me with this sly smile on her face. And then she reached and got the thing. She goes, I'm sorry again. You have a good day. And I said, okay, you have a good day too. It wasn't until a few minutes later I figured she thought I was hitting on her. Because she's basically reaching up to get all this stuff in these tight jeans and good looking.
Oh, you're just
watching. I got all
I'm in
day.
no hurry, B. I like the view from here.
Yeah.
But that's a nice
reach
compliment.
a little higher.
That's a nice.
So here's the problem. I spend the rest of the trip in the store thinking,
you should have gone to get
why
her.
didn't I follow that up?
Should have gone to get her.
I just moved here, and is this the best place to buy sweet tea? Lines like
Exactly.
that.
Oh, my.
What
You
an
blew
idiot.
it. You blew
But
it.
I didn't know I was hitting on her.
Well, there you are.
So it was
You pulled a Kimmer.
Yeah,
You pulled a Kimmer.
this is stupid.
What is that? Bingo? Is that A7?
There's no
A in bingo, Brett.
I love it. Well,
Right.
maybe you'll run into her again. I assume you're going to go back to the store.
Is it a Publix or is it a local?
Well, whatever.
It's a store
It's
that has groceries, and it's a great
Now, actually,
store.
I know you want to talk about this store. First, let's talk about your house.
a great store.
You sent pictures to us. We're not going to share them, obviously.
Right.
But you sent picture. It's beautiful. I mean, what a great looking spread. A great looking house with a front porch, a nice white cottage and woods and trees and a stream. And I mean, it's beautiful.
All you hear
It's
all
gorgeous.
day is that stream going. It's
Gorgeous.
absolutely amazing.
So I'm thinking, wow, is that freaking great? Now, are you going to get your internet set up? Is that working?
I got the internet set up. I was able to do Holy Crap at Sports, and that was easy. What I can't figure out is I got the computer and the internet in one room, and that's where he put it in. The router or the modem, that box, I don't know if it's a router or a modem. I should have asked him. Friendly
I'll
guy.
bet it's a router.
But my
I don't know
TVs
why.
are in the living room, and I didn't hook them up because they want you to do DirecTV, and I'm not going to do DirecTV. So basically, I'm just going to try and Wi-Fi it from there, but I have no clue. Do I need a router or a modem to do that?
Mike, Founder will get you.
So he's going to do that. But the one problem with the house is it was shut up for like 2 or 3 months, so it's kind of musty smelling.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to open up the windows and get that in there. So what's the quickest way to get your house smelling nice? Is just the air fresheners or the
Get
open
candles.
powder?
Get candles.
Candles, scented candles.
Yeah, scented candles.
Or the what are those things that people that do marijuana?
Like Catholic priests,
the little sticks, you
Oh,
light
yeah,
on fire.
Incense.
Incense. There you go.
So like I'm a hippie.
I'm not familiar with the.
I could be like a hippie.
Well, I mean, we can make it smell like weed if you need, but other than that,
That would remind me of the apartment I was in.
you have a beautiful spread
Okay,
out
you have
there.
to come and visit.
Just gorgeous.
no. But at the store, you can get little scented candles that are like $2-3
Oh,
bucks,
there's a million
and they're
things
nice.
you can
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a million things you can get. Some that are actually little candles. Some that are you plug into a wall and they release a thing like a night light, a little plug into your wall socket, and it releases an aroma.
Well, everything was like, it was like something out of a fairy tale book until I walked down by the creek and
Oh yeah, what
I
was
found
that?
a picked clean skeleton of something.
Oh boy.
A raccoon or
Bones.
something. It was the bones, and
Yeah.
it had been eaten,
Oh,
clean,
boy.
picked clean. And it was
Well,
like, huh,
buzzards got to eat too.
this was no boating accident.
No. Let me ask you a couple of quick sports things. There's a story now. They're making a big deal with the UGA kill crash. Now I'm making a big deal about the way Bennett, former quarterback Stetson Bennett, behaved when he got caught being drunk in Dallas at 6 o'clock in the morning, walking around a gated area. And somebody called the cops. The cops went to pick him up. And the story now is that he hid behind a brick wall when the police came up to him.
You can't see
And
me.
they said, he said, sir, you want to come up from behind a brick
I'm
wall?
invisible. I'm invisible. You can't
You
see
can't
me.
see me. Nobody here. Nobody but us mice.
I blend into the wall.
Yeah, and he was walked further back into the gate area, hiding behind the brick wall so he could avoid the cops. They called for him to come out, want to see your hands. He eventually did come out, and they put him in handcuffs.
I want to know what he was drinking.
He
'Cause
was drunk.
If it was Jägermeister, I know the feeling.
Understand totally. He was unable to call a friend, he said, who lived there, but he couldn't remember the friend's address, didn't have a cell phone on him anyway, so how could he have called him? He was clearly drunk, and the cops were afraid that he was going to get mugged or rolled or something, so they took him into custody to get him off the road. But anyway, do you have a problem with it? I mean, he's 25 years old, for one thing. I mean, it's just poor behavior.
It happens.
Yeah, but this is like 2 years in a row now when he reacted by getting drunk and going on TV or being caught with a. Anyway, well, but I don't care. I'm just curious.
He was no longer a college student at that point. He was no longer with the team.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this: Major League Baseball is going to get into a media department broadcasting because of the deterioration of Bally Sports. There's a new senior vice president of local media, 3 of them actually. Diamond Sports Group, the subsidiary of Sinclair, operates networks under the name Bally Sports, has a right to 14 major league teams, including the Braves.
Yes, sir.
Bally Sports has skipped $140 million in interest payments that are due, so it looks like it's going under, and now Major League Baseball has a commission of people to take over broadcasting.
Kimmer, they've got it all settled. The first thing they've done is go out and hire 3 suits.
Yeah.
Because what would Arthur Blank do? Oh, he'd hire more suits. So
Yeah.
let's do that. So that's what they've done. That no cameramen or broadcasters or sideline reporters. We've got 3 new suits working on the problem. Top men.
So
Top
they're going to
men.
have to take over the Braves broadcasting.
They're going to
I
have to.
guess.
It's going to be interesting to see how they run it.
Well, how does that lose my? How did they? How
I
is
don't know
that
how
possible?
they did it. Well, they they're paying
making
the teams too much money, is what they're
Well,
doing.
and in fact, didn't I just read the other day that now the starting salary, or no, the average salary for run-of-the-mill Major League Baseball players, $4 million.
4+.
It used to be.
But that's nothing to do with this. What you have here
Yeah, no.
is a system they put together.
well, the
that-
TV network contracts.
that doesn't work anymore. It's collapsing.
Yeah.
Is what's happening in real time, right in front of us.
How
It's
could
collapsing.
they be losing money? Like
They're paying the teams too much money, or MLB. One or the other.
and speaking of teams and money and so on and so forth, did you see the new Football Players Union report about the best and worst teams on how they treat their players? Came out yesterday morning. A report during the scoring combine, ranked teams in 8 categories, from serving meals to nutrition to training and travel, locker rooms, weight rooms, stuff like that. 1,300 players anonymously ranked the teams 1 to 32. The Minnesota Vikings, Miami Dolphins, and the Raiders of Las Vegas were the top 3 teams. Vikings, Dolphins, Raiders, the top 3 teams for treating their players. The bottom 3, Los Angeles Chargers, who were just Super Bowl champs, Arizona Cardinals,
No.
and the Washington Commanders.
The Chargers have never been Super Bowl.
Oh,
teams.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of the L.A. Rams. I'm
Because
sorry,
the Chargers
I'm so
are
bad.
they still on with that
Oh, since
Spanos
Air
family?
Coryell, Mike, with what's his name?
Spanos.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap.
You know, he's
Worthless.
Well, again,
The
that's
whole
right.
family.
I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. The worst, the Chargers, historically and forever, Arizona Cardinals, and the Washington Commanders. 3 teams don't even serve players dinner at their facilities, and the Cincinnati Bengals doesn't provide supplements or even phone charging plugs in the lockers. The Jaguars had rats infestation everywhere, and the St. Louis Cardinals charged the players to have a meal.
Wait a minute. The who Cardinals?
The Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, I'm sorry. Arizona Cardinals charge their players if they have a meal. When they bring in I can't, in the
That's
locker
the
room,
Bidwell.
they charge them.
The Bidwell family.
Holy smokes.
Cheap.
I mean, that is unbelievable. Now, I know. Oh, let me ask you about Dion. Do you have a problem with Dion saying he prefers football players who have a 2-parent family because
No.
they come from better
I got
backgrounds?
no problem with that.
And what about his strong Christian
opinion.
beliefs? Now he's being blasted all of a sudden. Just today, I'm reading in the social media, they're saying, stop doing your proselytizing to your football
I
players.
love how non-Christians preach to Christians how they should act. You have no clue how anyone
Yeah.
should act.
Yeah.
No one's just because you're Christian, you're not perfect.
Yeah, then don't go to church, I mean, fine.
You go to church because you're not perfect.
It's unbelievable. And again, is that the worst? Yeah, would you rather have that or some of the other things that football coaches do with their players?
They're
come on.
critics. They never provide anything or create anything. They just criticize what talented people do.
I know. And now, what's this about going? Are you on a bad acid trip or something? You told me about
No,
an
not
acid
personally,
trip.
I am not.
No, I wasn't sure. I didn't want to misread anything there.
But The Onion has put together, we've all been in that situation where the friend is starting acting really weird.
yeah, and you wonder what the hell.
And then you figure out, oh boy, they're having a bad acid trip. So here are things to not say. Things never to say to someone during a bad drug trip.
All right, sir.
All right. What did you take? Actic, Adderall, Alfenta, Alprazolam, Alzepam, Ambien, and Exia? Now is not the time to show off how many controlled substances you can name off the top of your head. Okay, never say how many fingers am I holding up. This comes across as rudely rubbing it in that your fingers aren't demon penises right now. Never say, are you okay? Open this door and you'll be stuck there listening to their incoherent babbling for hours. Never say, oh no, did you eat all my heroin brownies? Your roommate might have scooped your stash accidentally, but at this point you just need to be supportive and not guilt trip her. Never say, since you're going to die soon, can I move into your house and marry your wife? That's for the estate lawyers to sort out.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
It's so cool how you bogarted all the drugs.
Don't Bogart that joint. Where do you suppose that came from? Did Humphrey Bogart? Oh, that's why. You know why? Humphrey Bogart in his old movies, when he made his own cigarettes, had that cigarette lighter that you plunge with your finger, the click thing, and he would roll his own cigarettes and he would lick the end so it wouldn't stick to his lips when he smoked.
That
them.
has nothing to do
That's
with
called
it. It was the
Bogart
fact he
your
would take
cigarette.
the real long suck from it.
Yeah. Well, bogarting your cigarette. Don't bogart that joint.
It's so cool how you bogarted all the drugs. Your sarcasm won't land effectively until they come out the other side. Right, Flounder?
So do you remember when Matt Stone and Trey Parker, those are the creators of South Park, and it was, I want to say, early 2000s, something like that, they wore J-Lo's dresses to the Oscars. Do y'all remember that?
No, I don't remember
Anyways,
that.
when they did it, they were on acid.
Oh, is that right? Well, that explains a little.
Explains a lot.
Wore her dresses to the Oscars. Oh my God.
Never say.
Obviously, they did it to fuck with everybody, but they did it on acid.
Wow.
Never say to a person having a bad drug trip, have you ever heard the Grateful Dead? They're already suffering. No need to punish them further.
When all those people in the 60s sobered up and said, I used to listen to that.
Never say you still owe me $15 for the acid. It's not worth mentioning something so petty at a time like this when their purse is sitting right next to them wide open. So that's it. Things you don't say.
There you go. No, tell the guy. And you have a new, there's a Bigfoot in your area now with your houses?
No, it's just people up there talk about the fact that the North Georgia, there cannot be a Bigfoot in the North Georgia mountains. There's just too many people now.
Yeah, I would think there are not that many uninhabited. Oh, there's still woods up there, but you'd have to be
there's
pretty
a
good to hide.
museum. Someone told me there's an actual museum if you keep going up past LJ. So I need to go check that out at some point.
You know, years ago, when I didn't have horse racing, I didn't play a lot of golf. I ride my Harleys up to North Georgia every weekend, just goofing around. And I remember seeing I used to stop at these weirdest little side of the road, maybe museums or stores or mom and pop places that had the weirdest stuff.
Oh yeah, there's all
knickknacks
these places with the signs, the old Coca-Cola signs and stuff. They're neat.
Real old collectible things.
Boiled
and farm
peanuts
stuff
everywhere
and,
you want.
yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, Stan says I should have gone to the produce section and picked up a salmon and chased her down in the
Bingo,
store.
N4.
Would you like a salmon?
Can I get you a salmon? Remember, bananas are now yellow tree dicks, just for the record, in case you had.
By the way,
yes.
Yesterday was the anniversary in 1954 where Ted Williams broke his collarbone on the first day of spring training, stumbling in the outfield. He had just gotten back from Korea where he had crash landed 2 planes.
Yeah.
Not a scratch.
Yeah.
But he trips on the first day of spring training and breaks his collarbone.
Man was a war hero, by the way. He went
Amazing.
more than he lost what 4 years of Major League Baseball.
Not
to be
much
a
of
Marine war hero.
Husband or dad, but he was a hell of a
apparently
war
not.
guy.
Well, he was a curmudgeonly old bastard, but he had a sense of humor. As it turned out, I remember him at some point was actually joking around with somebody, but he was not a happy.
He was a man's man that didn't.
It's a tough kid.
Yeah.
Did you hear? I love the story about Stakey Big Fat Loser Abraham. Has now gone to Nigeria for their presidential election. Stakey Abraham turns up in Nigeria as international election observer. Breaking news, Stakey Abrams is the projected winner of the governor's race in Nigeria. Nigeria shocked to learn the African nation requires voter ID. Stakey can't believe it. She famously sued Georgia to stop them from requiring voter ID, calling it Jim Crow 2.0. So I guess Stakey, when she found out Nigeria requires voter ID, I guess Nigeria is racist, Stakey? Probably not the best person to send to a country with a severe food shortage. That's cold. Why is Stakey overseeing Nigeria's elections? Isn't this election interference? Well, isn't this special? They sent 2-time loser, Stakey Big Fat Loser Abraham, to oversee the elections down there. Hopefully she's running in one. Maybe she can win there. She sure as hell can't win one in America. And now you know why the election was rigged over in Nigeria. Just in, Stakey Abraham declares herself president of Nigeria. And now the losing side is promptly claiming the election was rigged. So there you are.
They couldn't find a plague of locusts to go there and eat all their food.
Can you imagine? Why having her?
She gets off the plane. You're like, Lizzo's here.
Oh, it's unbelievable. She's still an international celebrity.
She will never go away. She's set for
my
life.
God.
She's
Well,
going to be doing these Jimmy Carter-like bullshit things around the world the rest
Yeah.
of her life.
And she's also being charged and investigated for misusing $500,000
Nothing
in
will
charity
happen from
funds.
that. Nothing will
I
happen
know.
from that.
And now she's a
She'll pay
millionaire.
a fine.
She came here from Wisconsin as a porn queen by way of California, $300,000
Carpetbagger.
in debt, owing money, and now she's a multimillionaire
Carpetbagger.
for losing 2 elections.
She still owes money.
Yeah.
Because she's never. She
She hasn't paid her
debt.
staff. Also, I noticed on Twitter the other day, just kind of bizarre, and I thought this was kind of kinky. Let me show you this picture. It's kind of hard to pick up on Facebook.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's in fact. Let me walk over to the camera just very quickly. I'm gonna walk over here to show you this picture. Can they see that picture?
Not really. It's shoes. It looks like.
It's a girl's ankles in several different kinds of shoes. Several different kinds of high heels and sandal shoes like that. And the story is indictments and prison exclusive. Ivanka Trump has just announced a new line of ankle monitor cases for all her friends and family who will be required to wear them next year. They're going after the Ivanka family. Blue Dot says Trump got $146 million to play golf. Ivanka and Jared got $640 million as White House advisors. Ivanka got 18 Chinese trademarks. Jared got $2 billion from the Saudis. Jared got $6.3 million in PPP loans meant for small businesses Don Jr. and Eric stole from charities. And now Ivanka's new cologne, plea bargain by Ivanka. Jeez. The world keeps spinning as the fake news watchers rag on Ivanka, don't care about the Biden crime family. 300 fentanyl deaths every day because of the border, China, and cartels with the Biden family. $6 trillion, $2 trillion in bills, mostly garbage. Read those libs. And by the way, there's now an offering from Johnny Midnight, who once again is on Twitter using my moniker just for the hell of it. Anyway, that's all I got on that. Now, dear Abby, I can't believe. I just can't believe it. Dear Abby, I'm in love with my best friend, Mitch. He's a father of 3 great girls. He works hard but can't handle his finances. His brother's been doing it for him, and nothing would get paid, and his daughters wouldn't get what they need. Mitch has ADHD. He just can't settle down. We tried dating. Again, this is her best friend. We tried dating. But he cheated on me. We didn't talk for months and then started talking again, and things are good, even in the bedroom. But some days he clams up and won't talk to me at all. Then when he wants something, he will call me. Mitch wanted a 55-inch TV, so I got it for him. Then he wanted the new Xbox, which, again, I bought. He makes twice as much as I do. Last week, he took off to see a girl and lied to me about it, saying he was working out of town. Mitch is coming home this weekend and wants to see me. I know what he wants. Sex, yes, and the sex is great, but I think he's using me. He's 38. He's 38. I'm 43. When we're together, we're good. But then he turns cold and doesn't talk to me for days. What do you think?
That you gave it out and he doesn't need it for a few days?
All she had to say was one thing. Dear, she signed, used in Kentucky. Dear used, please reread your letter a few times. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. If you see, hoping he'll change, you're lost in a fantasy. He's a dishonest user milking you for everything he can get.
Yeah.
My God, keep your legs crossed. I mean, my God. There are people like this.
I know. Where are these women?
Where can I find a girl
Where
like
are
that?
these women?
Why can't some girl put something in my drink once? Oh, sorry. That was wrong.
You need to date a girl named
That
Ruth.
was very wrong. All right, bad day in history.
All right, bad day in history.
Bad day in history. Here we go. I'm just going to do this really. Actually. Yeah, here we go. In fact, we kind of referred to this a little bit earlier in the podcast history. America's first manufactured candidate, Virginia aristocrat transformed by the Whig Party into a hard cider-swilling log cabin living everyman, William Henry Harrison, served ably as a general in the War of 1812 and against Tecumseh's Indian Confederation, but there had been very little to distinguish him in the decades since. He was bland, made him the perfect choice for presidential contender, a blank canvas upon which the Whig Party would create their own image. They had him run for president to get against the liberal that they didn't want. Harrison became a frontier legend and hero suddenly of the previously obscure Battle of Tippecanoe. All he had to do during the campaign against the incumbent Martin Van Buren was to avoid any controversial issues and keep his mouth shut. He was so thoroughly with a gag order, the Democrats started calling him General Mum. Sounds like Biden living in the basement. It's exactly what they do to pad their candidate and not do anything wrong. The epithet wouldn't endure. Harrison and his running mate John Tyler, popularized together in the ditty Tippecanoe and Tyler 2, defeated Van Buren handily, after which the torrent of words that must have been building in the silenced candidate burst forth in the longest, most excruciatingly boring inaugural address ever delivered. Freezing cold the early March day gained some intimidation of the torture that was to follow when he began his address with this sentence. Called from a retirement which I had supposed was to continue for the residue of my life to fill the chief executive office of this great and free nation, I appear before you, fellow citizens, to take the oath which the Constitution prescribes as a necessary qualification for the performance of its duties, and in obedience to a custom coeval with our government and what I believe to be your expectations, I proceed to present to you a summary of the principles which will govern me in the discharge of the duties which I shall be called upon to perform.
Stop it!
One sentence. That's the first sentence of the inaugural address.
More.
I know. For 2 hours he spoke with odd references to ancient Rome. And then Daniel Webster, the president-elect, had allowed Daniel Webster to edit the speech, which he shortened over only 2 hours. The ordeal, never-ending address was to the audience proved fatal to Harrison. He delivered it without a coat, developed a cold, they turned to pneumonia. Within 1 month, Harrison became the first U.S. president to die in office, quite literally bored to death. My God.
Jeez, I was about to kill myself.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. That would be wrong in every way. Okay, a couple of birthdays. I have a couple of birthdays of note here, if you don't mind, sir. Bon Jovi. Why can't I read that all of a sudden? Bon Jovi's 61 today. Daniel Craig, James Bond, and the Kill Me Without Shooting. What was the other movie? No. The one where he plays the gay inspector.
The Naked Gun.
The Naked Gun. No. The one with the
Knives Out.
Knives Out. The naughty little Bryce Dallas Howard, Ronnie Howard's Opie's kid,
cute.
42. She's got a little something bad about her. John Collum. You remember that name? He's when Northern Exposure. He plays kind of a guy who talks like this.
The older guy.
He's 93 years old.
He had
today.
the hottie,
Yeah.
on the show. Yeah.
John Irving, the famous author, 81.
Overrated.
Yep. Robert Eiler, AJ from The Sopranos, 38 today. Boy, did he become a big star, huh? Lorraine Newman, 71. I met her with a cast of Saturday Night Live that time.
She
in the 70s.
was on an episode of Ghosts. And we're sitting there watching the whole thing. Going, she looks kind of familiar. And at the end of it, we're looking at the credits. And it's like, oh, my God, that was Lorraine Newman. You wouldn't recognize her. Remember how skinny she used to be?
Oh, yes.
Her cocaine phase?
Yeah.
She's put on weight. And you would not recognize
When
her.
she came into the newsroom, this is in the 70s, and we had all of them in there. John Belushi and the whole crew and the blonde. Well, I can't remember any of these names. Of the whole staff. And she was who's the wife who died that I loved?
Gilda.
Gilda Radner. I just loved her. My wife made her a birthday cake.
Aha! B5! I knew it was coming. The birthday cake.
Well, it was so sweet. My wife made her a birthday cake that I
That's
brought
nice.
into the station because I was going to interview her. And Lorraine Newman was the quietest of the group. She barely said anything. It was like she didn't want to be there. And she was teeny skinny, like
She
crazy.
ain't
Of course,
anymore.
again, it was 7:30 in the morning, and they were on a tour, so they didn't want to get up to some radio station in New Orleans or whatever. So, Ben Roethlisberger is 41 today. Reggie Bush, 38. Had to give back the trophy, and he gave back one of the hottie chick things, too. Tua Gagalaliafalgaloa is 25. I might have mispronounced that. Natalie Emanuel is 34. Do you remember Natalie Emanuel? Her stage name, her character name was Missandei from Game of Thrones. She was that beautiful mocha, gorgeous angel. Oh, my, she was beautiful. Mikhail Gorbachev, still alive at 92.
No. He's dead.
Oh, God, that's right. He just died recently.
Yeah, he's dead.
I'm sorry. Again, these sources I get are sometimes... sorry.
this calls into question everything you've said for the last 2 hours.
I could be a liar. If he lies once, everything is a lie, Your Honor. And by the way, in court, they had the closing arguments are done in a Murdaugh case. In court, the rules are normally a judge will say to the jury, if you believe a defendant lied, or if you believe a person testifying said one lie in amidst all the other things he said, then you legally have the right to deny as inaccurate everything he said.
Sure.
If you tell one lie, you can't assume that everything else was the truth. You have the right to say it's not. You can still if you want, but you have the right.
Sense.
Yeah. Well, again, but I think it's an important distinction where it's okay to say, if you caught one lie.
Right.
Okay, whatever. Sorry. 1975.
Focus.
An L.A. cop got quite a shock when he pulled over a Lincoln Continental for blowing a red light. Behind the wheel, Paul McCartney. His wife Linda sitting next to him. The cop couldn't help but notice the acrid and sweet smell of marijuana, so he searched the car and found 8 ounces. Is that a lie? Is that a lot for one guy for a night?
Why are you asking him? How does he know?
I don't know. I'm just because he's younger. I think I probably looked it up.
For a night?
Google 8 ounces of pot. Is that like for a night, or would that be a weekend, or how? Is that a lot?
I mean, that's half a pound of marijuana, so that's a
it's like
that's
a
a lot of
day's
that's a
worth?
lot of
Is that a
marijuana
lot
for one
more than a
evening.
day. And by the way, so he arrested Linda. He didn't arrest Paul McCartney. He arrested Linda. 2007, Class Rock magazine. A poll of the wildest guitar hero of all time. Wildest guitar hero of all time. Actual live ones. Number 5, Dimebag Darrell. Did a lot of heavy metal group stuff. Number 4, Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. Number 3, wildest guitar hero of all time. Number 3, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Number 2, Keith Richards. And the top wildest guitar hero of all time, Jimi Hendrix.
Now, what do they mean wild?
I don't know. It's doing like we all fake playing guitar. Guitar hero.
I read something yesterday. Keith Richards said this whole thing about the fastest guitar in the West thing. Is it Van Halen or is it Hendrix or something like that? He goes, if you play an electric guitar, but you also don't use an acoustic and no rhythm well, you're not really you're wasting a lot of your talent.
Yeah.
He said he doesn't respect anybody who only plays one, the electric, and not the acoustic
Really?
too.
Well, you know who does that or did that? B.B. King.
Well, B.B. King never played chords.
Yeah, he did. He played solos.
He couldn't play chords. He hated them. So he would just do his little his solo stuff.
I wish my fingers had worked better when I tried to take classical guitar lessons.
My left hand will not do chords.
I just could not get my left fingers to spread the way and be able to press down on the string enough to get the right up against the fret thing. And I hate because I love and the guy who did it was a kid. It was a college student who played flamenco guitar, and it was and I thought, oh my God, and I learned how to play specific notes.
Well, that's probably illegal today because flamencos are endangered.
Well, they're endangered now. Anyway, but I couldn't make it work, and I feel bad. All right,
slide guitar.
Thing. 1991, an American hero and role model named Rodney King was driving along minding his own business when Los Angeles cops pulled him over for nothing at all and started wailing on him like choir practice. Unfortunately for them, somebody got it all on video. Yeah. Fortunately for them, the 4 police officers were found innocent. Unfortunately for Los Angeles, well, you know what happened after that with Reginald Denny and the truck drivers and the riots.
He deserved his ass getting beat.
There you go. He did. Doing 85 in a Comet or whatever the hell, in a Falcon or something.
Little bitty piece of shit.
Yeah, it was one of those little crap cars.
Endangering everybody else on the road.
Something or other. 1931, more than 100 years after he wrote it, Francis Scott Key's poem, originally written in 1814 as he watched the Battle of Fort McHenry in Maryland, it became our official national anthem. After all the bombing and shelling, there was one flag remaining. The original title of the poem was called In Defense of Fort McHenry, our national anthem. 1931, Cab Calloway makes music history when he records Minnie the Moocher. It became the first jazz album to sell 1 million copies. In fact, if you don't know what Minnie the Moocher is, you've actually it's been
Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers has been involved in cartoons. Now Cab Calloway was in the movie Blues Brothers and did the whole thing. I interviewed him once on TV, and unfortunately, it was stupid and awkward on my part because God, am I thinking about? Was he in? Who was the Mexican kid and the garbage man who and the son died of a drug overdose?
What the hell? Are you
A
talking
TV series.
Freddie Prinze.
Yeah,
and Jack
Freddie
Albertson.
Was Cab Calloway the guy in that series?
I don't.
Who was the black guy in that series?
No, a Scatman Crothers.
Oh, Scatman Crothers. That's
so
who I
this
interviewed.
whole pulling around.
That's right. That's
means
what it
nothing.
was. Scatman
Okay.
Crothers was. I interviewed him on TV,
Okay.
and I asked him. I said, "Wasn't I really ashamed about Freddie Prince's passing?" And he totally shut up on me and said, "I don't talk about that. That's why I don't talk about that." And
It
the
was
rest of that
sad.
interview live on TV was a
That was before
very-
Belushi died.
Yeah.
And that was a shock. Right
Yeah,
there.
and I thought it was legit to ask him about, talk about the thing. And he just shut me down entirely. Totally embarrassing. 2005, Steve Fawcett becomes the first person to fly a plane by himself around the world without stopping and without refueling. It was in the Virgin Global Flyer, and it took him 67 hours, fly around the world. Tragically, that was 2005, Steve Fawcett was last heard from flying a light plane in the Sierra Nevada mountains in 2007, and he has not been seen
I
since.
could have sworn they found him. They didn't find
They
him?
did find him?
I thought they did.
I remember in the back of my head that I remember hearing that, but then I'm thinking maybe I got confused with D.B. Cooper. Because this is just today in the thing. They would have updated if it had been found since
And
2007.
how can you disappear in the Sierra Nevadas at this point?
Well, if the plane disintegrated in a berry, I suppose, but
An avalanche
if the
buried it?
pieces of the under the snow, I don't know. I have no idea. 2007, also that day, the Cherokee Nation amends its tribal constitution to strip citizenship of any tribal members who were actually descendants of black slaves the Cherokees used to own. The Cherokees decided only blood Indians should determine Cherokee tribal matters. So they stripped the black descendants, claiming it was all racist because they just wanted their fair share of the tribal loot. One more thing in sports note, 1962, Wilt Chamberlain set the NBA scoring record by scoring 100 points, not the girls, scoring 100 points in one game against the Knicks. And he, of course, had the scoring record with women, too.
and I think he did that in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I don't even think it was a home game
It
for
was
some
on
reason.
the
but
road
it was,
for some
and they
reason.
just kept feeding him the ball. And by the way, back then, nobody could stop. I mean, really,
Nobody could stop him. He could have
nobody
done
could stop.
anything he
They
wanted.
didn't have anybody to take care of him. So they fed him, kept make 100 points. And now no one's ever. There are guys who've been shooting in the shot 70 a couple times.
I saw him play.
Yeah.
He was part of that Lakers group that won like 33 in a row, and they either tied the record or they broke the record against the Hawks at
Yeah.
Alexander Memorial. I remember watching him play.
Yeah, he was a force.
It was something. All right, here's a question for both of you,
All right,
Flounder,
sir.
if you're paying attention.
Yes.
You have to survive 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say if it's in a room or if it's just around them. So I'm going to say probably just around this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You have to survive 20 minutes of one of them, and you get $100 million.
Okay, one of the
Take-
following things.
A bear,
Yeah.
a tiger, a hippopotamus, or a alligator.
Wouldn't be a hippo. They're the most dangerous animals in Africa.
Alligator.
I would probably, for 20 minutes, I'd go with a bear.
You think you can outrun?
No, I could.
And
I
beat
could.
a bear.
I think I could.
I can outmaneuver an
Well,
alligator.
Yeah, I think if you
okay,
stay
are
behind the alligator,
wait a minute. Are
if
you
you could
talk-
do that, but they can outrun you. Alligators can
Right,
outrun you.
but the thing is they can't turn fast. So if you
Well,
can
if you get behind
outmaneuver
them, you
them.
You get behind him. See, I would pick the gator
sit on
too.
it. Yeah. Well, but are you
Tarzan.
talking about out somewhere in the woods or in a room? Or
I said, I don't know. It doesn't say.
Well,
That's
if
why
you're-
when I
if
started
you're-
this off, I said I didn't know. if
Okay,
it was-
well, if you're in the out of doors, then I'd pick the one I could outrun or get up a tree. Like an alligator can't climb a tree.
I don't
and
think you have a chance against a bear or a tiger. They're going to get
No,
you.
a tiger and
They'll go up the
and
tree and get
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Whereas if you go up a tree with the hippo,
Well, if you can get up a tree, but hippos run 30 miles an hour too. They're
Yeah.
the most dangerous the most killer animals.
they kill more people in Africa than
Than
any,
any
even
other-
snakes.
or gators or crocodiles or anything else.
Not only
too.
that, have you seen how fast they can go in the water?
Oh, that's
Did
amazing.
you
how
see
they
the
move in
video
water.
of that
The
guy
cha-
in a
yeah,
boat?
boats?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
Chasing
my
it.
God! They're going in a lagoon or something, and whatever it was, and all of a sudden somebody looks back and they see about 20 feet or 30 feet behind them this kind of a motion in the water, just kind of a swirling motion. The guy says, "Oh my God, get going, get going, get going!" It's a hippo, and they start speeding, and all of a sudden the thing starts speeding, and then all of a sudden here comes this freaking hippo. Whoa! They would
know.
have taken the boat.
I know.
And if the guy hadn't spotted that, they'd be dead.
They're me.
If somebody hadn't seen the swirling underwater behind them, they'd have been dead.
How does something that round move that quickly
I don't know.
underwater? And have you ever seen them underwater? I remember
Yeah.
we
They
watching
run.
National Geographic when we were kids, and they had an underwater camera, and they're as
Oh, they
graceful.
run.
They're graceful ballet
Yeah.
under there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, remember it was in the Disney cartoon. Was those doing a ballet?
The pink ballet
Yeah.
ones, the future, not
Yeah.
Futurama, was it? The
I don't
Fantasia.
know. Yeah, something like that.
The one he did on acid. The National Park Service, speaking of bears,
Yeah.
posted this yesterday.
All right.
It tweeted it. If you come across a bear,
Yeah.
never push a slower friend down,
Oh, I saw
even if you feel the friendship has run its course.
actual federal guidelines.
And here's our today's AI to scare the hell out of you moment.
All right, sir.
If you buy Ford's latest self-driving AI car, and
I
don't
didn't know
ma-
Ford had it.
well, they have a self-driving car. Ford does now.
Okay.
And you don't make your payments, guess what happens?
They shut it off. You turn it off.
It repossesses itself.
Drives home.
It drives
Oh my
back.
God! How funny would that be, honey? Honey.
You seen the car? It will leave you wherever you are. As soon as you get out of the car,
Oh my God!
it goes back to the factory.
Oh, I got to get one of those.
Why?
Holy smokes!
You know what I saw at the store yesterday too?
What's that?
Not only do they have every moon pie in the world, we're talking banana, chocolate, vanilla, everything, but they have the mini ones too.
Mini moon. They're too dry for me.
I
I'm
love
sorry.
those
They're all too cakey and dry, and you need a big cold glass of milk right
That's
next to
right.
it.
RC Cola and the moon pie.
Yeah.
Daryl has a good idea. How
right.
many times have you been sitting at home without a pants? You wear pants on when you're sitting
Well,
around
I
the
wear
house.
running clothes or something.
Running clothes, but a
yeah,
lot of time
or
you're sitting in your underwear.
I sit there. If I come out of the shower and go downstairs to do something, I'd sit down and watch TV.
Especially
in
boxers. They're like shorts. You're walking around.
So you want to get in
Right.
that closet.
Well, Daryl's decided, and then someone knocks on the door, rings the doorbell, and you're like, "Where's my freaking pants?"
Yeah.
You're jumping around. Daryl says, "I'm setting up a pair of door pants by the front door, so I have a quick and easy access to pants when delivery people show up at my house."
Well, it should be before the front door, because if you have windows on the front door, they're going to see you putting on your pants, and so around the corner maybe. But that's a good idea.
The U.S. Naval Institute posted this a few days ago. In 1942, a Japanese submarine, I-17, got close enough to Santa Barbara to shell an oil refinery.
Wow.
To shell it. According to the legend, the sub-commander is named Kozo Nishino. He did it out of revenge.
For
Allegedly, while visiting the refinery as a captain of an oil tanker before the war, rig workers laughed at his humiliation when he fell into a prickly pear cactus and had to have the spines plucked out from his butt.
oh my, that'll do it.
So he got all the way over there to Santa Barbara.
It'll kill you all. Is that the
Speaking of Japanese, Nakano Takiko formed a battalion of female warriors to defend her shogun during the Boshin War in Japan.
All right.
After taking a bullet to the chest in 1868,
My.
she was afraid that the enemy would take her head as a trophy. So what did you...
Wait, she got shot?
She was shot in the chest because
Yeah.
at the end, if you watch Last Samurai, they were
Right.
using guns against the
Right.
samurai.
So she was afraid that he would therefore capture her
And
would
take
cut
her
off
head.
as a souvenir.
So,
Okay. So
she
what'd
had
do?
her sister do something. What do you think she
cut
had
her head off
sister?
and hide it.
Yep.
Oh my God! Seriously?
She had her sister do it.
Please cut my head off and hide it.
And
so
by
they
the
don't
way,
get it.
there's a picture of her. She's good looking. She was rich and good looking.
Wow.
And wanted to be a samurai.
That's strange as freaking culture. I mean, man.
And the Weekly World News, as you know, we've seen the Chinese balloons in the sky.
Yeah, yeah.
Those inscrutable Chinese are up to it again.
What now?
According to the Weekly World News,
Yeah.
they have put a 200-foot Chinese spy rubber duck down the Mississippi River.
Here it comes. How funny would that be, by the way? Somebody could do. How much would you pay to have somebody put together a 200-foot rubber duck and send it right down the Mississippi?
That would be hysterical. Oh, it
Oh,
would be
my
breaking
God.
barges up. All right, finally, two more things. I was at Target the other day. I'm going to send you a picture of it. I'll send you it's made out of wool. It's basically a ball of wool.
For
And
cats?
I'm thinking cats would love that. It's like $80.
Whoa.
It's heavy as hell. It's kind of
It's
like
got a hole in it or
an
just a
ottoman to
round-
put your feet up on or something.
I'll be darned.
But your cat would love this thing.
Huh.
And finally, you know how you look at something and next thing you know on Facebook or Instagram there's an ad for it?
All the time.
Or you mentioned something around Alexa or something. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I have not been looking up dominatrixes.
All right. Well, we can all disagree on that.
But yesterday on Instagram, I get this friend request. Dom Love the Miss, 9930. I am a full-time dominant mistress goddess. My old granny lives with me, and I do have my dungeon room as well.
This popped up on your Facebook?
Instagram. And then underneath it has all these photos of these sissy boys. They're not even
Being
women.
whipped by, oh, my God. Are they the whippers or are they the ones getting whipped?
They're the ones getting whipped by the dominatrix.
Sure, well, that makes sense.
By the way, this whole thing about having a dungeon room and lives with the granny is right out of Dahmer. That's what he lived with his grandmother when he was killing people sometimes.
Really? I didn't know
before
that.
he went to the apartment.
Oh, my God.
Back to the ottoman thing.
Yeah.
Anytime if I go buy him something nice, he would rather play in the bag that I brought it home in
Yeah,
than the
that's-
actual thing I bought.
That's about right.
Like a 2-year-old. Yeah.
That's a cat.
Like a 2-year-old.
I love it.
All right. Get us
Bad text?
our Bad Text Theater ready there, Flounder.
All right,
and
folks.
rehearse it while I'm reading you your totally tasteless joke of the day. It's about Jewish people.
Oh, boy.
What's a Jewish American princess or a Jap's idea of perfect sex?
Having her mother do it?
Simultaneous headaches. All right, what do we got here? Bad Text Theater.
I think we're at February 17th.
February 17th. Oh,
Excuse me.
wow, we're catching up.
Yeah, I need to find some more.
All right, February 17th. That's not a good one, I don't think.
What about the
Yeah,
one
we did
under
that
it?
one.
Or
we
the
did that one because you screwed that one up the other day.
what about the Star Trek?
Okay. All right. What you have is you have Bones, the doctor, talking to Scotty.
Bones talking to Scotty.
Are you Bones
the
or
doctor or the
Scotty?
engineer?
I'll be the blue guy.
That's Bones. Oh, you don't know who
I
Bones is?
I know the
McCoy?
I know the
God.
basics of Star Trek, but I wasn't a huge Trek.
Okay.
I was more Star Wars.
All right, that's
All
fine.
right,
So
you're
once
Bones.
again, you are
I'm Scotty. He's Bones.
the engineer. He's Bones the doctor.
My nephew needs a job. Do you have any suggestions?
He should apply for the search and rescue team. They're always looking for someone.
They're always looking for someone. There you go. Well, that's kind of who we are, ladies and gentlemen.
That's where we are.
Again,
I drove all this way for this.
for this, yes. So thank you. God bless you. Whatever you can do to help us, thekibbershow.net. We want to keep it free, but it's looking iffy. So please, whatever you can do. Thank you. And boys, weekend plans of any kind here? I think it's
Unpacking.
unpacking. All right. Well, maybe we'll.
Once you're
pay a little visit
unpacked
or
and
something.
suited and all that stuff, let us know, and we'll definitely come by
There
for.
you go. Yeah. As soon as you're done.
Set up and everything like that. Oh, by the way, tomorrow my waterproof snake boots show up.
Oh, snake boots.
Well, I'm going to hit that.
Yeah, I was going to
crate
say
pretty
now
hard.
that you're kind of in nature
You're
and
a
around there, you need
mountaineer
to
now, my friend.
dress accordingly.
I got the beard going. I've
Plaid
got
shirts, big boots. Yeah.
Yeah, camo. I'm going to wear a
Oh,
lot
you
of
gotta do
camo.
the- Yeah, pockets on
Oh,
denim.
I'm outside of the grocery store. This is up in the mountains, and I'm putting the groceries in the front boot, the front trunk, and this guy walks by getting his pickup truck. He goes, "I think they put that on the wrong end."
Where's your motor?
And he laughed, and I laughed, and so just to muck with him, I went around the back and opened up the back trunk and pulled something out of it, and he just sat there in his truck looking
Wait
at
a
me.
minute. You got two trunks?
Where the hell is the engine?
Reminds me of the old Candid Camera routine where they had a woman up on a hill. They took an engine out of her car entirely, and she was up on a hill, and she coasted into the gas station and said, "Fill her up." He said, "Ma'am."
Check your oil? Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts, boys? Have a great weekend. Keep in
Everybody,
touch.
Cindy, everybody, have a
Thanks, Cindy.
Rocco, everybody, have a great
All right,
weekend.
guys.
Kim,
God
everybody.
bless you. Thanks for helping. God bless America. Hoorah, I gotta go. You're killing me. Like, herp.